If you know me, I am a big fan of ye old adventure game hybrids like your Ace Attorneys and Zero Escapes, and while Danganronpa took longer for me to get to than it probably should have, this long-running series is no exception. It's also one of the more successful series of its kind, only behind Ace Attorney in total lifetime sales. Very funny considering one heavily influenced the other. It's now been 5 long years since I started my Danganronpa journey, and I think of those times quite fondly, especially going through V3. However, for my money's worth, or Monokuma coins worth, I guess, Danganronpa Another Episode, Ultra Despair Girls, may be the most fascinating entry of them all. And I'm only going to say that full title once. Kodaka and crew transplanted their perfect little setup of gonzo dialogue, equally nutty characters, tight murder mysteries, and epic courtroom battles into a spin-off action game that may not be the first of its kind, but is such an oddball offshoot in a series of oddball wonders, it remains one of the most fascinating games I've ever played. Not to mention how it leans harder into the series' nascent horror aspects and whips up a tale exhibiting some of the darkest storytelling within a universe revolving around high school-aged kids getting turned into butter and world domination. No limits. If I'm not thinking about V3, I'm probably thinking about Ultra Despair Girls. And in this video, I want to take y'all on a similar journey to discover what makes this game tick, why it has stuck with me all this time, and how it coalesced into a surprisingly good horror game just in time for its 10th anniversary. In the West. A month late. But you know what? You can't deny that it's too late for this! Yeah, we're doing this. So this is the 4th Halloween related thing I've done on this channel, but it is the first one done for this sub-series. Okay, the first Halloween related video released during Halloween time. With the past few videos being focused on nostalgia and childhood trauma, I decided to tackle a game that I believe should be mentioned among the classics of the horror genre. Frankenstein, Dracula, Swamp Thing, Calling, Jean the Grudge Haunted House Simulator. Yes, my dear friends, if you're looking for a change-up in your regular Halloween game rotation, here you go? And to get this out of the way, no, I'm not making this in light of Danganronpa 2x2, because then I'd be doing the smart thing and talking about 2 instead. Also, this has been in the works for about a year now, as is typical around these parts, and it got announced halfway through the writing process. Fantastic. And is this all just a shaky framing device to talk about a game I really like? Yep. But I'm being serious when I call this thing a horror game. Like, Danganronpa has played around with those tropes in all of its entries, and this one is the most overt horror entry in the franchise, serving as a frank examination at the seemingly inescapable cycle of violence and trauma. Childhood trauma, as a matter of fact. So let's get into the fray and see how much psychic damage we attain in the process. And if you don't know me by now, you will know that we are going to start with some background on Danganronpa. Ooh, dull exposition, ooh. Danganronpa is the brainchild of one Kazutaka Kodaka, an art school graduate with a film degree who found himself in video games during the 2000s, making contributions to games like Clock Tower 3 and a few entries in the Jake Hunter series. After being hired by Spike Co. around 2007 and working on some of their licensed titles, Mr. Kodaka came up with the idea for an original detective adventure game that owed a decent bit to the likes of Suda51's ventures in that lane, but was far too violent for Spike's liking. With some tweaks and iterations though, they created the bright yet deadly world of Danganronpa we all know and love. In Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, you play as a student attending the esteemed educational environment known as Hope's Peak Academy, whose students have wonderful talents that make them the ultimates within their field of study. Before long, though, you and your classmates are trapped within the school and forced to play a violent murder game, where if a classmate is killed and the murderer gets through a classroom trial without being caught, They're free to leave while all the others are slaughtered like cattle. Danganronpa 1 launched in November 2010 for the Sony PSP, and its mixture of Ace Attorney-style courtroom gameplay and a wacky cast of misfits and weirdos made it a massive hit with critics and audiences, thanks in part to its iconic character designs from series mainstay Rui Komatsuzaki, and a great soundtrack from the legendary and frequent Suda51 partner, Masafumi Takada, making quite the lasting impression in game culture. All of which were good tidings for Spike Co., since, well, outside of their licensed titles, their development output up until then had been, let's just say, spotty. While Kodaka-san initially wanted the game to remain a standalone product, the series' popularity saw him and the crew do some additional work before a full sequel saw the light of day in less than 2 years. Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair, once again for the PSP. As far as I could tell, the game didn't see any development troubles following Spike's merger with Chunsoft, and the game was another critical and commercial success. Now, us Westerners didn't get a taste of the series until the 2013 anime adaptation, but yeah, we were gonna need the full games out here to get a better understanding as to why this series popped off so hard in its country of origin. Spankfully, Spike Chunsoft saw fit to give the games the old spit and shine treatment on Sony's shinier successor to the PSP, the PlayStation Vita, in late 2013, with the good folks at NIS America putting out localized versions just a few months later. I do remember seeing ads for Dangan 1 back in the day, and I was rather intrigued with the concept and the art style that any near adult would be familiar with in their life. I knew my Warholisms in high school, thank you very much. There was just a slight problem with me getting into it. I didn't have a Vita, and Young Even was not going to betray Nintendo just for one game experience. The series did get PC ports down the line, and College Even definitely could have gotten on board then, and yet he didn't, and I'm not sure why. I might have just been really busy in college at the time, or with the 5 different YouTube channels I was running at the moment, so I just let the series pass me by. It was a weird time for all of us. Back to the topic at hand, Ultra Despair Girls was developed after the first 2 entries, and was the first one made with the Vita in mind. According to the series' lifelong producer, Yoshinori Terasawa, it was intended to be a breather from Monsieur Kodaka. It makes sense. The man had developed 2 30-plus hour stories, written a 2-volume light novel prequel, and assisted in the aforementioned anime production, so why not have him take a break by letting him make another game? Okay, if it made him happy, I don't see why I should complain about it. And thanks to Danganronpa's rousing success, Spike Chunsoft gave the man and his dev team total creative freedom on the entire thing. And given the end product, they took that in stride. No limits. After going through a few concepts, like a Mirror's Edge-esque action parkour kind of game, to Danganronpa Kart? I don't know how the hell that would have worked out. They settled on an action game centering around the titular Despair Girls in an incredibly hopeless situation as they fought their way through it. The final product was released in September 2014 after 2 years of development, and us Westerners got a hold of it another year later. The regular crew guys worked on the game in regular capacity, but in an interesting turn, Kodaka shared directing duties for the first time with one Shun Sasaki, who had worked on the gameplay for 2 and would later go on to fully direct V3. And UDG sure was a good experience to prep for that, as according to Kodaka in his Famitsu column that he ran for a few years, the game's development was a gigantic mess, and he stated elsewhere that it ended up being the most expensive production in the entire series up to that point. Critical reaction was a bit more mixed than the previous games, but those suckers had to make do with the Vita shoulder buttons, and I went through the PC version, which was released simultaneously with the PS4 version in mid-2017. There's definitely a switch up in terms of mood and vibe from that title screen alone. Like, you've got these chalkboard and childlike drawings plastered all over the screen, and yeah, this trip-hop bop in the background. Yeah, you don't even hear the game's name, it just kind of lets you sink into the vibe right away. It's pretty nice. Oh, and for the record, you all be listening to the dub because I liked it. Alright, enough dilly-dallying. Let's see some despair.
According to what I've heard, the world is round. But is that really true? Earth might have the shape of rock candy. Like that spiky lump of sugar your grandma would wrap in a tissue. I don't really know for sure. It's not like I've actually seen the shape of the Earth.
We begin our potentially conspiratorial journey with this odd little monologue from one of the Ultra Despair girls, Komaru Naegi, a self-described plain Jane normal-ass teenage girl currently living her best life in a high-rise apartment within a bustling metropolis. Against her will. Why she's being held hostage, where she was taken to, who done did the kidnapping of this fine lady, not even she knows. But she was a first-hand witness to the initial spark of the whole tragedy that occurred alongside the Hope's Peak killing game and had sunk the world into total despair before getting separated from her family in the midst of the chaos. It doesn't sound like the kind of situation a normal girl should be in or would want to be stuck in, and after being holed up there for a year and a half, Komaru's reached the point of questioning the basic facts of life on this miserable planet. So she's managing it well enough, all things considered. Komaru's not too far gone, though, as a daily routine of sleeping, eating, leisure, and pounding at the front door for someone to come rescue her, for God's sakes, with no response every single time, has kept her mind busy. But on this fateful day, some unprompted jiggling at the doorknob sends her into a desperate, frenzied plea for escape. Unfortunately, the entity beyond the door is anything but friendly. Good old Monokuma, the mascot of the Danganronpa franchise and the high-tempered robot who seemed like he was gonna whack a student on a whim. And did on more than one occasion. Good to see nothing's changed with him besides being less talkative, and after a jarring shift between anime, CG, and real-time cutscenes, the horror can commence. Indeed, we don't have to go through a lengthy prologue that establishes our whole cast this time. Ultra Despair Girls is playing a totally different game, and with a new perspective to boot. Komaru doesn't have any method of defending herself at the moment beyond running away, so this tutorial is a good opportunity for players to get used to the classic Resident Evil 4 over-the-shoulder perspective, and nope, autocam is a no-go. Not a fan, not a fan. I like my right stick going about. Also, yeah, I'm playing with the controller, not with the goddamn mouse. Are you insane? Wait a minute. Is that the everything box? That's the mark of a true Japanese gamer, having what may be the worst-selling console in your country as part of your collection. This game's not even on an Xbox console. And the series didn't even reach Xbox until 2022, and by the time this video comes out, Xbox may not even exist. Whew, it's been a year. So Komaru, the hardcore gamer, manages to outrun the Robo-Bear's grasp, as well as the flames that suddenly engulfed the apartment building, and guns straight for the elevator, only to be greeted by another massive prick.
You must be Komaru Naegi.
This is Byakuya Togami, one of the few survivors of the Hope's Peak killing game, and while I have good reason to call him a prick that I could enlighten y'all with, I've got to save my energy for the other pricks in this story, because he's not here for long. He is here with these other Men in Black types on a quest to rescue Komaru, as part of a mission with the new organization he had hooked up with since escaping Hope's Peak, Future Foundation. Now that's a name we're going to be hearing a decent bit. But before Stuffy McPrickster is able to condescendingly explain what the fuck's going on, more Monokumas pop out and overrun his team, prompting him to gift Komaru a spare hacking gun to defend herself from the onslaught as she hauls ass to safety. And onslaught is putting it lightly, because Komaru's first taste of the outside world in the last year and a half is a goddamn apocalypse.
Someone help me!
Oh, well, I guess this nice family restaurant is completely oblivious to whatever the hell was going on outside. Everything seems fine and dandy here. Even the staff are confused and unsettled by Komaru's outburst about some weird bear attack. Guess it must be soundproof. Or have tinted windows. Or they're fucking idiots. But things are so calm right now that you'd think the game was trying to pull one over us and say that the whole ordeal that we just saw was happening in Komaru's mind. Maybe the Earth isn't round. With the restaurant quickly overrun by these vicious Monakumas and the bodies piling up, Komaru's got no choice but to put this hacking gun to use. You thought this over-the-shoulder perspective was the only thing that this game would be taking from RE4? Nope. It's gonna take its third-person horror gunplay too. It's kind of ingenious, isn't it? It's like they went, how do we make an action game out of Danganronpa? Well, we've developed this basic shooting gameplay for the first two games. Let's just expand on that and make it a central mechanic. It almost feels like a parody of RE4 combat, and the arsenal here seems to lean into that a bit. Though Komaru doesn't appear to be a fan, if her whimpering says anything.
Someone save me!
I don't know, girl, you're a pretty good shot. Maybe you'll make it out of here alive. It's not like your true competition looks all that threatening. Oh, speaking of which...
The TV.
Bum! I'm a zombie! I'm gonna eat ya! Oh no, please don't eat me! I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat ya! Please don't eat me! Please don't violate me! Please don't humiliate me! Kitty porn is a no-no!
Why would she say that? Is she stupid? These strange-looking kids playing with the dead newscaster claim responsibility for these rampant Monokuma and the ensuing riots, while the one with the unripe banana-looking hair introduces themselves to whoever's still watching as the Warriors of Hope. They're wreaking havoc on this city to cleanse it of adults and build a paradise for children by children. How's that horror tasting for y'all? Cue title sequence!
Please don't violate me!
Oh wait, wrong scene, sorry about that. Komaru bolts out of the restaurant and soon meets up with another group of future Foundation nobodies who finally give her the rundown of all the malarkey that's been going on, including their role as the cleanup crew for the most awful, tragic, horrible incident in human history. The most normal, flabbergasted teenage girl in the city also learns which city this pandemonium is occurring at, a mostly waterlogged urban landscape called Towa City, named after and controlled by a tech conglomerate known as Towa Group. This company had a hand in assisting with the after effects of the tragedy when the city's government collapsed, overseeing the development of a giant air purifier to clean the air, and in some other vague ways. And if your sci-fi senses started tingling, keep those in check. But for now, the city itself is falling apart thanks to the Monokuma invasion, and it's in future Foundation's interests, really everyone's interests, to preserve themselves.
A kid?
Get back!
Safe to say they're not good at that. But at least Komaru is now safe and sound from these children and their attack bears. Yep, safe and sound in this helicopter. You know, she might have a point. I mean, who's to say the world is round, or the sky is blue, or that this is a real pencil? Never mind. Komaru's little misadventure knocks her out cold for 2 days, while putting her back in the same situation we were introduced to her with. And upon waking from her slumber, she's greeted by the one and only...
You look completely exhausted.
Who are you?
Me? Oh, my name's not really important. After all, I'm just a lowly
servant. Mr. Servant is in a similar predicament to Komaru, if the chains give off that notion, though he seems more interested in toying with her than helping with her. Classic servant behavior. At least he has the courtesy to give her back the hacking gun with one small caveat. Most of the bullets she was previously using in the tutorial are now gone for the purpose of game balance. Is he doing this as an order from whoever's running the show, or is it just servant antics? Actually, who exactly is he servant to? Oh yes, of course, those weird-ass kids from the TV, namely Masaru Daimon, Nagisa Shingetsu, Jotaro Kamuri, Kotoko Utsugi, and Monaca. As the Warriors of Hope give their scant backstory, it becomes clear that they ain't just any regular murderous kids. No, they were prodigies themselves from the elementary classes of Hope's Peak Academy. That has since changed for reasons, and now they style themselves after an RPG party who are bent on killing all of the adults in the city for their paradise to thrive, referring to those adults as demons. They may not look the part, except for this fella here, but make no mistake, these kids ain't fucking around, as I'm sure they'd put it. And if Komaru wasn't thoroughly creeped out yet, their plans for her involve attaching an explosive bracelet to her wrist before throwing her poor ass back into the city to participate as a target for their brand of the killing game, aptly named Demon Hunting. Please for mercy and understanding as to why these kids are acting so cruel go unanswered as Komaru is dropped from the sky, because you bet your ass that these kids have a flying fortress. Any self-respecting RPG party would be stupid to not have one. Komaru proceeds to make a crash landing somewhere in the city and in a less than favorable spot. Whatever shall she do? She may be screwed. Or she got an emo chick to save her ass. Her time has yet to fully pass. Ooh, unnecessary rhyming, ooh. Finally rounding out our main cast is the one and only Genocider Show. I mean, Toko Fukawa, another member of the first game's cast, another survivor of the killing game, and the other ultimate despair girl. Since she'll be with us for the rest of the game, we'll talk about how Toko was in Danganronpa. A pig-tailed, meek, self-conscious, blood-fearing, sometimes funny, sometimes annoying writing prodigy who doubted everyone about everything and found herself very infatuated with Mr. Stuffy Prick. She became a little more interesting once her scissor-wielding serial killer personality that you see here, also known as Genocide Jack, or Jill, whichever name you prefer, came to the forefront, but that just kind of made her more two-dimensional, if you catch my drift. Now, in researching her, I was intrigued to find that her creation process was the most complicated out of all the participants. Even the localization team had trouble with her, as she and Genocide Jack needed 2 actresses to get the performances down right. Now, that hasn't changed any long-standing impressions I've had about Toko, although I did take to her new, messier design that you see here, and she ain't just gonna be some weird ghost who follows Komaru for survival's sake.
You don't believe me, right? You think I'm just some filthy woman who's sick in the head.
Miss Fukawa is also part of Future Foundation, albeit their internship program, and she's managed to wrangle some control of her alter ego in the interim. So now with a little shock to her brain, Jack can be activated and temporarily used in combat like so. She also appears to have opened up just a little bit emotionally. Yeah, you see that little tear in her dress? It ain't just a fashion statement. Nor are those markings. This was her method for keeping track of Jack's, or I guess her, victims, and one can interpret this as a way for her trying to, well, maybe not accept Jack, but serve as a constant reminder of her misdeeds. That's a lot of baggage for one person to carry, and a lot of potential for her character from the outset. Komaru doesn't really care about that though, she's just happy to have a permanent ally, so she quickly accepts this alliance with the nerdy former murderer, not being weirded out by her ordeal or how exactly she found her in the first place. Maybe there was some future Foundation intel that she went off of. Who knows? And all Toko wants to do is search for her master, because it seems like the prick got himself kidnapped by those brats. And being a mere intern of Future Foundation isn't going to stop Toko Fukawa from doing so. And fantasizing incessantly.
Toko, you must never leave my side. Protect me always. My pig.
Yes! I'm your pig! Oink! Oink! Oink!
With this tag team decided upon, the girls can traverse through Towa City's variety of ruined urban environments and buildings. A hospital, a hotel, a construction site, American quality level roadwork, all while battling Monakuma's bots by using Komaru's hacking gun or Jack and Jill's scissoring attack, and tackling a number of puzzle challenges in between. There's a decent amount players can explore within each area too, as there are notes and collectibles spread all over town, and the occasional book or manga that Toko's pretentious ass will rip apart without hesitation before the conversation veers into something that may or may not be related to the material at hand. While this is mostly optional, regular progression is regularly broken up by dialogue sequences anyway, all of which showcase the sudden terror struck upon the city and humorous clashes of personalities between the Despair Girls. Seriously, their chemistry is immediate from the get-go. They bounce off each other very well and add a lot of levity to any given situation. It's a big plus to have right away. But they are not alone in their fight, as they'll frequently come across other survivors in the demon hunting game, including one Yuta Asahina. The pair encounter this familiarly spunky kid after locating a highway bridge that may lead them off this island. Emphasis on may, because that ain't gonna be easy for anyone, and once they realize the bridge got cut off about halfway in, the Monokuma kids see fit to have them reenact the opening scene of Final Destination 5. Following a generously timed action segment, the three of them make it back to where they started, so they have a leg up on those losers. But they are stuck with an even shorter bridge and even less hope for the effort. Yuta has not quite given up, and he dives headlong into the ocean to swim his way out of town. And just like another character that the game will continue to vaguely gesture towards, he ain't no slouch. I don't know why they have to be so coy about it, but I'll play along for now. And I gotta say, that kind of speed and technique ain't something that you see every day. I mean, yeah, sure, your legs are a crucial part of the process, but the real power, the real strength, comes from the upper section of your body, that whole core around your chest to your arms. Toning your muscles to withstand that repetitive movement will get you nice and comfortable with thrusting your way across the lane. Was Michael Phelps gifted with a tight chest and massive biceps at birth? No, he worked towards that. He earned that. Like, what the hell is a butterfly stroke? Who cares? Watch him go. I apologize for that. I got off track. What happened? Oh. Well, I don't think Phelps ever did that. Except for that one time. Many questions come about following Yuta's sudden demise, but Komaru isn't able to process them as she mourns her fellow captive whom she just met, and how another chance at liberation was forcefully taken away from her. Toko isn't having any of her waterworks and convinces her to pick herself back up to persevere, trudge forward, survive. A harsh but sincere moment from a character who was so standoffish and cruel to everyone prior to this, and especially herself. I think an inkling of a character arc is starting to form here, and to Toko's surprise, this speech helped Komaru calm down. so with just enough confidence regained, they both head back into the ruins to find another way out of the city. Specifically an old subway line that Gloomy Girl here knows about. More of that future Foundation intel, I presume. The girls eventually find an entryway into those dark, damp railways. That just happens to be locked at the moment, but in another stroke of luck, a helpful station attendant happens to be right nearby to assist them.
Running into you and not even apologizing? Who raised that little brat?
Okay, you know what? Maybe Komura had a point there. Time to throw yourself off the bridge, girl. Another one of those shithead Monokuma kids pulls a fast one on the girls and steals the key, giving them the runaround as they backtrack through the city again. I was not expecting for the padding to start this early. Once they manage to get the key back, along with some critical items and even more trauma, Las Chicas head back to the gate, unlock it, waltz their way down through the dark, damp corridors.
It's okay. I'm telling you, it's not that dark.
It is dark. It's more than dark enough. Is anyone there? Turn on the light, damn it! Too bright.
And right into a trap. Masura's trap, that is. The leader for the Warriors of Hope. No surprise that a rowdy kid like him was going to be the first one up, and he takes a fitting role within the RPG party as the hero. Think your typical shonen protagonist, and like any typical shonen protagonist, how exactly he's going to go about finishing the girls off isn't apparent at first. He might just be winging it, so even though Komura might be shitting her panties, Toko isn't taking him seriously at all. Well, hell, that chipper personality of his takes a massive swing into psychopath territory when he shows off his current kill count in the demon hunting game. Like I said, they're not fucking around, and if you need some more convincing, Masaru then goes off on his venomous hatred towards adults, extending to the point where he and the other kids made a promise to each other that they'll off themselves before they ever turn into a demon. Think Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, if they were mentally unstable terrorists who made a suicide pact, and if Captain Hook was an abusive drunk.
I won't be afraid. I'm not scared at all. I don't have to be scared of the dark and the pain and the alcohol smell. Not anymore.
Huh? What is this? Yeah, that's weird.
Damn it! Stop! 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 I said stop! I'm not scared! I'm not scared! I'm not scared! I'm not scared of anything! I'm a hero! I'm a hero! A hero isn't afraid of anything! He isn't afraid of dying, of killing, nothing! So just stop!
Please stop it!
Ooh, I can't recall many shonen protagonists displaying mental breakdowns like that. Well, except for that one time. In the midst of his panic attack, Masaru whips out a giant robot to destroy the girls, and there you have it, our action game boss fight.
Hero robot Mark Guyver! Stuff all over these filthy demons!
Happy Halloween! Dealing with hero robot Mark Guyver, yes, that is what it's called, is a cinch, as you can see with my expert maneuverability. And there's still a lot of RE4 in the gameplay DNA here, but No More Heroes is starting to come to mind as well, with its colorful bosses and lockstep progression and wacky fourth wall breaking tone. Hack and slash combat, same composer, yet another Suda51 connection. Admittedly, it's a smidge darker, but so was the second game, so yeah, it's the perfect comparison. Upon Masaru's defeat, he is taken away by the very kids he vowed to fairly rule over, and is supposedly executed, which is the standard for Danganronpa, but none of these executions are on the same violent level as, Butter. It's not like the girls can really do much about it though, besides head back up to the surface and down another path conveniently cleared out during the fight. How considerate of this invisible cleanup crew. Oh, but lest I forget, like a bastard jackass, before us players can move on, we're treated to BDSM Byakuya.
What a surprise. I never expected you to be this good. Listen up. Stay by my side and I'll protect you for the rest of your life. That's an order. You are the dog and I am the master. You have no right to decline.
It's just funny that the majority of his dialogue is in fantasy horn dog mode. Maybe Toko's alright after all. Much like the rest of town, this subway's seen better days, and there's only so much track that the girls can follow before they get hit with a dead end, as well as falling bricks.
What do we do? Toko! Toko!
Take a good look, the cute one is here!
The collapse has Genocide Jill and Robocide Komaru sprint right back to where they started, and while no allies were lost in this disaster, Komaru's back in that same dour headspace. Toko takes a slightly more pessimistic approach this time in motivating Komaru, when what she really needs is quite obvious. A nice reassuring conversation with the love child of Jimmy Neutron and Hannibal Lecter. Jotaro's not here to simply entertain the girls with his wonderfully structured dioramas and slow, aimless ramblings.
Oh, by the way, do you know? Is it just an urban legend that they use bugs to make food dye? 'Cause like wasabi and stuff, with the taste and the color, it's suspicious.
He's the one to point out to Komaru that she can't leave Towa City, or else the band placed upon her wrist will kindly spread her giblets across this urban realm, like it did with Yuta. Oh, come on, Komaru. He was just trying to cheer you up. Sheesh, everybody's a critic. I suppose now is a good time to talk about Komaru as a character, and something I noticed when reading through contemporary reviews and reactions for Ultra Despair Girls was that one of the consistent sticking points being Komaru is just too mopey and whiny about her situation, and it gets tiring to watch her melt into the ground over and over before Toko builds her back up. Disregarding how early into the story we still are, let's ponder that aspect for a moment, because it's not like Danganronpa hasn't examined this before. The previous two games also centered around normal characters among a classroom full of elites and ultimates and plain crazy people, so they ended up being the anchor for most situations and had the most natural reactions for all the trials and hardships that come with the murder game while overcoming them through their wits and arguments. Ultra Despair Girls takes a more active approach to that type of normal character, but are the reactions that Komaru's been having so far to everything around her any different from how the first two folks would react? Or anything unexpected from someone thrown into this ultra deadly scenario on top of having been held hostage for a year and a half and having her first few tastes of sweet, sweet freedom ultimately pulverized for good measure? Those Hope Peaks shits were lucky they didn't have this constant threat to their lives surrounding them minute by minute, and if you put any Joe Schmo under that amount of stress, don't be surprised if they want to give up too. So it's a good thing to have another anchor to help ground them, even if that anchor will continually demean them. One moment in particular I'm quite fond of happens right after Komaru and Toko leave the hospital they both met up in. Or on, I guess. Faced with the possibility of continuing the journey on her own, Komaru went into panic mode, practically begging with her eyes alone for Toko to stay with her because she's too scared and too inexperienced to go off on her lonesome. She may be packing heat, but she doesn't have any heat, and in spite of having her own thing going on, Toko agrees to keep tagging along because she's been in that exact same scenario. Like, all of the crap that she went through taught her to keep moving forward no matter the circumstances, even if they may also have led her to becoming indifferent to all the slaughter going on in town. So, of course she's gonna be the one to pick up Komaru, or Omaru as she calls her. And she does so in a way that displays some vulnerability of her own without coming off entirely like abrasive preaching. This isn't all to say that high blood pressure is the whole of Komaru's personality. In fact, with this second run-through, I found her to have some rather endearing traits. For one, she's a total ditz who frequently takes Toko's sarcasm at face value, and for two, she has an active competitive streak that gets brought out when taking on the random challenges that these Monokuma kids throw out once or twice every chapter, often gloating in their face whenever she achieves victory. It's petty, to be sure, but given the situation she's in, I think she deserves to be petty. So yeah, to sum up this diatribe, I think she's a fine protagonist, and despite all of her venting, she does recognize that she and Toko at least have a chance, or what seems like a chance, to escape and survive. Other people in Towa City didn't get that chance, and even those who were just a little bit luckier aren't in much of a better spot. Alright, with the soapbox down and Jotaro's nightmare behind them, the girls backtrack their way up to the subway entrance, or exit in this case, only to find, That's not the song they're dancing to. Not wanting to interrupt the flash mob aerobic session, they head down the other hallway, and that leads to an underground shopping mall that, I mean, this place just looks like it was already abandoned before the Monokuma showed up.
Of course. Even I'm at my limit. I'm scared of blood and the dark, and I'm just so tired, but there's no choice but to do it. I'm not some crybaby, whiny, airheaded girl.
Whiny crybaby?
What? Yeah! Yeah! What was that?
Sorry. I tried to scare you, but then your reaction scared me.
Huh? You really are an idiot.
Oh, sorry, I don't have any commentary. I just thought this was cute.
Yeah.
The girls navigate through the shopping district, do the usual fighting and scavenging, and just as they are about to reach another way above ground, they encounter a group of Monokumas attacking one of their own.
Excuse me. Are you alright?
This is Shirokuma, who looks quite a bit different from his kin thanks to being equipped with a more advanced, more sentient AI, and choosing a life of heroics in contrast to his brethren. And yes, I did say him. I didn't know robots had genders either. Good for him. The girls are reasonably suspicious of his intentions until he mentions the existence of a secret base where the survivors of all this chaos have been gathering, so he joins the team to lead the two of them there. And if this sounds like an escort quest to you, congratulations, you know how video games work. Although Shirokuma is just kind of roaming around without any regard to anyone else, as Tomaru and Koko scavenge through the rest of the ruined mall. He's not completely useless though. There are a bunch of these large holes right by these locked doors that, for whatever reason, neither of the girls can fit through, and yet the fat bear can squeeze in with ease. I don't know, maybe just spit you back out if you're not a Monokuma. Whatever, it's just kind of stupid. As the trio continue their journey, they find themselves entering the stinky realm of the city's sewer system. How will our heroes reach the secret base without getting themselves covered in feces? Stay tuned. Love that episode, it's my favorite. Shirokuma jumps into more of these holes to activate a series of bridges that'll get the girls across these gaps, but Komaru will need to defend him against his encroaching brothers and sisters before he can finish turning the lever. Fantastic. When all the bridges are formed and puzzles are solved and ladders are climbed, the three of them finally get to the adults' secret base of adults. Faceless adults, but adults nonetheless. As you can see though, they're not living under the best conditions, and talking to a few of them reveals not only did Shirokuma save every single one of them, they're not quite itching for a fight against those kids. Koko and Fufu also meet a non-faceless person in the form of Hiroko Hagakure, a former delinquent and divorcee caught up in the demon hunting game with a bomb bracelet to show for it, and is yet another wink nudge to the audience. I will say she's a lot cooler than the other person who shares her last name, and serves a much better purpose too. Another one of the game's many collectibles are these hit list dossiers meant for the demon hunting game that have been scattered about the world, all of which feature some rather unique characters with specific instructions on what to expect when encountering them, and how to make them die. You can pass these off to Hiroko whenever you encounter her, and you get another conversation about the person in question that ranges from, man, why does this bitch put on so much makeup, to,
why must the good die young?
There's not a whole lot to these conversations either, beyond the amusing commentary, but it offers a nice break from the persistent dourness. And Hiroko ain't the only faceless adult in this hideout.
Yo, Shirokuma, I heard you were looking for me.
Hi, G.
I heard you went outside again without my permission. Didn't I tell you it's dangerous? So, 2 more newcomers? Name's Haiji Towa. I'm the leader of the resistance here.
What a surprise. He's pretty handsome.
Ah yes, Haiji Towa. This long-haired fella ain't just a hunk whom Toko is instantly smitten with, no siree. As the name implies, he's part of the Towa family who runs the Towa group and, in essence, Towa City. Also voiced by Leon Kennedy, funnily enough. What a perfect circle we've made. You didn't voice RE4, Leon, you dolt. Sadly, his incredibly rich and prosperous family also fell victim to the Monokuma attacks, and so Haiji's status, along with the use of his right arm, has been forcibly stripped from him, having since built this resistance group with Shirokuma. Not to worry, he ain't your average resistance leader either, because he's got a solid plan to combat the onslaught of Monokuma bots and save this town. Sit around and do nothing. Okay. Upon hearing this brilliant plan, Toko does a 180 on the guy and berates him for his complacency, just as she did to the other survivors they talked to.
What's the point of fighting back knowing that you die? It's all for nothing if you're dead.
The way you are now, you might as well be.
Jesus, lady. Chill out. Despite the insults to his character, Haiji seemed to be willing to listen to whatever alternate plan Toko may be cooking up in her sassy, inconsiderate brain, until she mentions that plan would involve contacting Future Foundation.
If that's the case, then I'm sorry, but get the fuck out of here. I refuse to cooperate with you.
Haiji doesn't like Future Foundation. He doesn't explain why he's not fond of them. Maybe it's the competitive spirit within his tech bro ass. But whatever the reason is, he ain't helping our heroines for sure now, so they're once again left to fend for themselves. Gosh, escaping from a deadly game of murder and whodunits by the skin of her tattered dress sure made our beloved rider quite the prickly bitch, huh? Don't worry, the game's right with you, as the girls quickly learn what these people have to deal with as their cowardly asses stew in their own misery and hatred, and what they risk by going back into that accursed world.
Someone help! That's my wife!
Please, calm down.
I can't just stay calm looking at this!
If the people that the girls encountered while they were out and about are of any indication, wherever the hell they go, their mental well-being is totally fucked. No wonder their hesitance to make a move. And let's delve into their perspective a bit, shall we? Remember, this is a horror game. Jesus Christ, this thing smells like ass. If you'll recall, the girls, or I suppose us players, can find a bunch of random notes and scribblings among the many collectibles throughout each chapter. Some of these notes are from survivors, some of these notes are from the Monokuma kids, and some of them are from whoever was sucking up to Towa City before the city was doing that to itself. While they're not crucial to the main story, like with many of the other collectibles, they do flesh out the crisis that this city has been going through and its victims. I didn't manage to pick up all of these letters during this run-through, and some of those twinkles are just really difficult to locate, but I did find enough to paint a pretty picture for these average townfolk. And would you be surprised to learn that in this world of robot bears controlled by kids wearing helmets with the bear's face plastered onto them, killing as many of the adults in town as possible, stringing or piling up their corpses across the environment, all for the sake of a so-called children's paradise? That they're treating this as if this were any standard zombie apocalypse? There is obvious humor to be found in this scenario, but Kodaka and crew do not skimp out on showing the broader consequences of such a disaster. I won't read all of these one by one, the video is long enough as is, but the best encapsulation of the general mood that they're aiming for can be found in the note titled, "I was so glad to meet you." It details the writer's dilemma of having an unplanned child, working through it with the mother, finding enjoyment in raising the kid and bettering themselves as a person, and the conflicting emotions that arose from within after the kid put on one of those helmets and took out the mother. Fuck, man. Additional props to the translators for doing a bang-up job at conveying this sobering reality check from the goofiness of this magenta grayscale horror. I'm curious if The Last of Us may have had some inspiration in this regard. Okay, wait. Hear me out on this. The Last of Us has its own various notes and letters strewn about its ruined cities, all of which tell a neat little story of tragedy of their own that Joel or Ellie can pick up and read and go to. Yeah, it may be a little easier to buy into that game's zombie apocalypse world right away, given the more realistic look and the tone not being anywhere as unstable as UDG's, but I think so long as the game's occupants can believably accept this reality, then so can the players. Or you can just imagine that they're just doing it ironically, then it'll be easier to swallow. Komaru and Toko certainly accept this reality. They've been living in it for the whole day. But as Toko points out, yet again, standing around and waiting for something to happen isn't going to help anyone. And Shirokuma agrees, so he provides the two a communications device from Togami Group, yes, that Togami, that they can use to contact Future Foundation and bring some much needed backup. Now that sounds like a solid plan. If only the entire city wasn't being jammed by those goddamn kids, meaning the girls will have to climb up one of the city's tallest landmarks to get past that interference.
Jamming? Like raspberry?
He means radio interference.
Before they make that trek though, they decide to spend the night in the hideout, and it is very funny to see how Komaru is able to sleep off everything that she went through in the last 24 hours. Guess the last 1.5 years made her a heavy sleeper. As the morning sun rises, the now well-rested girls,
You're the only one who slept well.
half-rested girls, make their way towards the tower and come across the swankiest part of Towa City. Have y'all ever seen a graveyard like this? Or a canal like this? All decked out in colorful crayon drawings, so stylish, so oversaturated, almost blinding? It kind of reminds me of the artist level in Psychonauts. I mean, Danganronpa has always had this bright papier-mâché craft style to match its abundance of pink blood and despondency, but this is the first time since the prologue that we've seen something like this. Which is to say, that I think the visuals overall are a downgrade compared to the other games. It has nothing to do with the shift from 2D to 3D, rather, it's just a consequence of it taking place in a ruined city, in a big apocalypse. Because that means you're going to see a lot of browns and grays and whites and other dull colors, just like its inspirations. It has its moments elsewhere, like the purplish hue that they gave for the sewers, but, well, just be thankful I turned the bloom off of these areas, or otherwise they'd be a lot harder to look at. I'm sure the girls appreciate it.
I've had the ability to see ghosts ever since I was a kid.
Never mind, they're goners. After moseying their way through cardboard Venice, past all these hip-thrusting Monokuma kids and outward displays of Happy Pride Month, our favorite couple in the universe reach Towa Tower.
Oh, you found me. I put so much work into this disguise, though.
I mean, they reach Jotaro Kamuri. Whether this means the Warriors of Hope are aware that these two are up to something, or Michelangelo's trying to get ahead in the demon hunting game, is irrelevant once he unleashes another Monokuma swarm. But we as players are used to this by now, so this will be a piece of cake. Whoops. Jotaro's presence was definitely a warning for what was to come, because as soon as the girls get through that hurdle, they discover Towa Tower is infested with more Monokumas. And if the notes found here tell any story, it's that most of the workers are long gone. Didn't even have the decency to disable the security lock on the elevator. What a bunch of worthless black company hacks. So the stairs will have to do. Thankfully, getting through here is also a breeze. Whoops. A couple floors up, the girls are surprised to find an actual survivor with an actual face and another bomb bracelet attached to his wrist. He doesn't get a chance to introduce himself as Toko died in that cutscene.
Who's there?
But he does have a history with electronics, so he volunteers to assist the now lone Komaru in getting that elevator going to get her to the top of the tower. As is typical, the game does not make that process easy and spawns another bunch of Monokumas that are just waiting to chop up Komaru and her new best friend. But Toko's ghost makes quick work of them. And yet they have the gall to do this right after.
It's gonna be all right. Just a little bit more. Let's keep it up and...
Okay, I was lying. She's not dead. I'm just goofing around. Not this guy, though. He's screwed. While the nameless man might have kept his promise of helping the girls in their quest, he's now lost all hope of achieving his true desire to reunite with his daughter.
There's a picture inside. Oh. So this is his child, huh? What a cute girl.
Or has he?
Coke and Toke are a bit numb to losing another ally within 10 minutes of meeting them, which is either a sign of maturity or a sign of regression, depending on how you're feeling about them by now. But hey, the elevator's working. Kind of. Good old Jotaro's not gonna let the girls just send out their message without a little fight in his own Colosseum, or forcing them to endure another round of his incoherent mumblings. He doesn't even bother to try to suppress the obvious effects of whatever he had gone through, especially with Toko surmising he had gone through something of that sort. But in another note of evolution, or de-evolution, Komaru doesn't react to his babbling with abject horror. She's straight fucking pissed at the kid. Jotaro's much more effective at prodding and poking and getting under her skin than Masaru was, and you can hear the poison in her tone when she lashes out.
Unforgivable! Why are you all cheering for the enemy?
Which feeds into his damaged psyche further, and he outright proclaims that he doesn't think what the Warriors of Hope are doing is bad in any way. True child serial killer energy. No remorse, no consequences, no limits, only pain. When he's finally done with the most incompetent sermon in history, Father Jotaro brings out his own mecha-death robot, Priest Robot Dr. Von Geralt. I'm not sure if this is another Tokusatsu reference. I did see one person calling it the Space Pope, and I had a laugh, so I think that's good enough. You think he's a fan of the White Sox too? You think he made his own rock album? You think he was also pushed over by a vindictive bishop who got kicked up the arse?
He did kick me up the arse!
I can go on all day, fellas. The boss fight here is more complex than Masaru's, in that there isn't a conspicuous weak point on the thing, but I was so used to breaking out Genocide or Show during fights, I overthought the true strategy and got stuck for, 2 seconds, before the Space Pope went down pretty quickly. After a Messiah-approved explosion, the kids also turn on Jotaro and tear his mask off in the process, revealing a beautiful boy now free from any and all of his burdens, until the kids drag him back into the darkness. Well, that's a bit of a wet fart to end things on. I mean, he did mention something earlier.
Big sis Junko said so.
I don't think that's anything to worry about.
Big sis Junko said so.
With another Warrior of Hope out of the way, the girls return through the elevator, make their way to the top, and attempt to reach out to Future Foundation using that goddamn communications device. Despite this being her idea, Toko is starting to have some doubts about the whole affair, and just as it appears the connection is not going to go through...
Hello? Oh, this is Foundation. This is Future Foundation.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Loud and clear. This is Future Foundation. Branch number 14. Makoto Naegi.
Who better to pick up their signal than the original Ultimate Hope himself? Alrighty, if any of y'all have been itching for a recap of that first game, this next part is for you. Second game, you're out of luck. Maybe wait for the remake. Makoto Naegi, protagonist of the first Danganronpa, another survivor of the Killing Game, and older brother to Komaru, back in the digital flesh. It's a very touching interaction that also serves as an SAO reunion, although your mileage may vary with how touching you might find that to be. The conversation quickly turns uncomfortable anyway, as Makoto explains to Komaru the circumstances that brought him to where they are now. We referenced Makoto when discussing Komaru as a character earlier, so I'll keep this short. He was the only student participating in the Hope's Peak Killing Game that didn't have any ultimate skills of his own. Okay, technically he's the ultimate lucky student, because he got into the academy on a raffle, but just like Komaru, he's some normal-ass dude caught up in this horrible situation and stepped up as one of the few voices of reason for much of the proceedings, eventually turning into the Ultimate Hope. However, the mastermind of the killing game, counterly named The Ultimate Despair, wasn't going to make cooperation between students easy, and that's where Komaru comes in, as well as all the other hitless people. They were individuals close to the game's participants who had been kidnapped by cronies of the Ultimate Despair, also called Ultimate Despair. Yes, they are separate entities, don't worry, I was confused too, and thus used as motivation for those students to engage in the killing game. The big shebang was also being broadcast live to the world as it sunk further and further into despair until the remaining classmates confronted the mastermind and gave them a taste of their own medicine through facts and logic. That person was known as Junko Enoshima, a former classmate of the students who simply is the embodiment of pure evil, pure misery, pure despair, whatever you want to call it. There's no succinct motivation for her actions, she just is. Within the games, at least. I'm aware one of the light novels gives her an interesting backstory, but within the game's chronology, she just is. Her death didn't do much to quell the chaos of the world outside of Hope's Peak, as those within Ultimate Despair who didn't get out of Dodge right when she got crushed became the remnants of despair, and Future Foundation was promptly formed to deal with them and the various other after effects of the preceding war. Those remnants could still be found in great numbers, so Junko's influence was as strong as it has ever been, if Jotaro mentioning her is of any indication, but the exact role that she's playing in this incident is not clear to the three amigos. What is clear is how much of a mental toll these events have taken on those involved, as this depressing recounting prompts Toko to burst into tears.
Toko, are you crying?
Of course I am. Remembering the suffering and heartache.
I thought she was just being a sarcastic dick again, but no. These are real. And I'll be honest, I haven't replayed one since that initial run 5 years back, so this backstory was actually kind of a nice reminder of how good a core those remaining students were, and the strength they exuded by the finale, choosing to stick together in their escape, damn whatever fate they encounter. I had a temptation to go through it again with this appreciation in mind. I do have the collection that they released on Switch a few years back. And then I remembered 11037, which made my eye twitch shut, so I didn't bother. With this explanation out of the way, Toko relays over to Makoto that Byakuya had been kidnapped after Towa's own catastrophe began, and the three discuss their next course of action. Komaru takes the smart route for once by pleading for Makoto to send someone from Future Foundation to rip off her Boom Boom bracelet and get her the hell out of there. Toko's earlier doubts take full form here, because now she is fully against the idea of Future Foundation interfering in any way, as she claims Byakuya will be killed if they take one step into a city, going as far as to threaten Komaru's life in front of her brother, just in time for the signal to die out and the Monokuma kids to make their grand return.
What? Blackout? Pitch black? What is going on now?
The blackout sends poor Toko into her own panic mode, so Komaru has to navigate them out of the room by following the little shit kid who triggered it before they seal the emergency exit.
Let's hurry and get...
Well, shucks. Looks like Toko's dead for real this time, so now Komaru has to carefully maneuver down the outside flooring all by herself, shimmy her way back into the tower to go through more obstacles, and escape through the front of it, head right back to the adult base, while not forgetting to add beer to her laundry during the rinse cycle, because it's going to remove all the stains on your clothes that only got there after you were plowed up and down the wall. Why do you people take what I say seriously? I'm not a video essayist, I'm a goof. Oh, what a pretty little song. Once they finally escape the tower, the pairing have a good conversation about their differences and agree to learn more about each other as people.
I will do anything for the sake of my master.
So, you'd even kill your friends?
What? Friends? Did you think I'd feel differently if you started using the word friend?
Alright, let's get the popcorn out, see how this progresses.
Hey, where are you going?
It has nothing to do with you.
Ooh.
Nothing to do with me. You've got some nerve. Saying that while doing nothing on your own.
Oh shit.
Saying that I haven't done anything? That's too far!
What do you want? You want me to praise you? You want me to say thank you? Too bad. I've never praised or thanked anyone my whole life.
And that's why you don't have any friends!
Oh, fuck girl, go off, queen! Man, does this make for an awkward trip back to the secret base. Then Jose ain't even gonna question who the fuck died in this position here. It's understandable. Like, if my doomsday partner was going to enact their murderous impulses at the first sign of rescue, I wouldn't want to talk to them either. In fact, I'd just get the fuck away from them. But Toko has her own reasons to keep sticking to Komaru. Good reasons, I'm sure. And when they do make it back, neither Shirokuma or Hiroko can do anything to break the tension.
Hey everyone! Aren't you glad these young girls came back to us?
Hey, fuck you!
The girls aren't the only ones bringing bad vibes to this base. Remember how Haiji had gone cold on the girls as soon as Future Foundation was brought up? Well, there's some kind of conspiracy spreading among the remaining survivors in and out of the base, in that Future Foundation both instigated the Towa City affair and the tragedy itself, all so that they could resolve it to build up their influence across the world. It's a theory that's been pushed by the city itself before it got, and has since expanded. So it's a good thing that the paranoid folk who believe in this stuff have all gathered here to come up with some kind of counterattack against those kids.
It doesn't matter if they're just kids. We have to kill them before they kill us.
And they just adore them. Like, some of the notes found in this very room are imbued with vile hatred and scorn for the Monokuma kids, and these faceless pricks have no qualms in discussing how they're gonna go around committing child murder. In a contained fictional narrative where children are in control and are the ones killing adults, these intense feelings aren't unfounded, but what's probably making them more susceptible to these emotions is the fact that they don't have kids themselves. As Haiji states, the Monokuma kids have been primarily targeting parents, and while he knows it's probably not a coincidence, he doesn't have any idea why beyond, kids these days. Maybe these fellas are just too preoccupied with all the talk of child murder to question this matter, and yet they still don't have a solid plan to fight against them. Maybe Toko was right after all, and she proceeds to engage in another verbal sparring match with Haiji before all of a sudden, Komaru starts ganging up on her.
You're the one who's wrong, Toko.
Huh?
Oh shit, just got another batch done. Let's see how this unfolds.
You don't understand the feelings of the weak at all. You're someone strong, with talent, chosen for Hope's Peak Academy and Future Foundation. You don't know how people like me feel. You don't know what it's like.
Oh boy.
I don't understand what it's like to be weak? You think I'm chosen? You must be kidding.
Oh.
What's so great about me, huh? I'm a walking inferiority complex.
Oh.
I don't have confidence. I never have. But what's going to change if I just keep saying that? Using that as an excuse every day? I learned that from the killing. I suffered for it, but I did something about it. So for you to say that I was just chosen, like I had nothing to do with it, I won't allow it.
Well, now I feel like a faceless prick. It's a weird feeling when you start getting attached to a character for whom you were previously indifferent towards, and it's making me question if my original reading of Toko was accurate in any way, or if it's just the writers doing a really good job building upon her traits. Komaru may have only said what she did out of frustration, and Toko can say she's feigning confidence all she wants, but it takes a strong and confident person to buck up through the misery, and she has the history to back her suggestions for other people to do the same. It's so interesting how they've both planted themselves in their metaphorical gardens, and talking it out ain't gonna cut it anymore. Something's gonna have to push them over.
You shot me! Emergency! Monokumas are attacking us!
Oh, perfect timing! A large army of Monokuma bots interrupt the oh-so-peaceful atmosphere in this secret base, and they start slicing up some childless adults, forcing the girls to put aside their differences for reals this time to handle the matter, while the other adults cower away as they are wont to do. It's another one of those protection dealios we got a dealio with. At this rate, they should really just start their own bracket, just as soon as the camera starts cooperating a bit more. Here you can let one or two of these idiots die before the game scoffs at your performance, but it's annoying nonetheless, and a little difficult to take seriously with Shirakuma's dumb walking noises. No limits? I don't know. Regardless of the number of adults the duo end up saving, several of them are dead or dying in the aftermath, and Haiji emerges from his hiding spot to blame them for it happening at all, which might be true, before outright accusing them of being spies for the Warriors of Hope. Which might be true. The girls are then separated for the first time since their fateful team-up and jailed in separate chambers. Komaru isn't given much time to reflect on her actions before the next rung of the Warriors of Hope ladder breaks in to cause some more chaos.
Woohoo! Sorry for the intrusion. Thank you very much.
Kotoko Utsugi here thinks Komaru is the most totally adorbs person in town, and she's made it her goal to set her free. How thoughtful for the designated fighter of their impromptu RPG party. Just ignore how she's already established herself as a weirdo,
Kitty porn is a no-no.
and is about as quick to change the subject in any conversation as Jotaro was, while also acknowledging how weird it is for her to be the fighter since she's a girl.
Stare.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust her with a 90-foot pole, but Komaru's in a bit of a pickle at the moment, so she goes along with the idea and
now, hi-ya!
not even 2 seconds. The fighter then brings Komaru to an unknown location, has her chained up to the most stylish torture device you'll ever see, and subjects her to some motivation. So here we have another gameplay sequence where we need to bat away these wiggly hands before they rub Komaru enough to turn her into an actual hoe and— Whoa. Slow down there, Caligula. What the fuck just happened? Alright, remember that collection I mentioned earlier? It's called Danganronpa Decadence and was released for the Nintendo Switch in celebration of the series' 10th anniversary, containing the original Danganronpa trilogy for the first time on a Nintendo console or handheld, as well as some dumb fan service side game that I've never touched and likely never will. Despite the fact that the Ultra Despair girls are here, prominent, on the cover, the game itself wasn't included in the collection. In fact, it hasn't been re-released on any system since the console and PC port. Not even the Everything box got it. In an interview from around the time of Decadence's launch, Shun Sasaki provided a couple reasons for UDG's omission, namely how difficult it would have been to port it to the console due to the game's themes and design. On the one hand, the first two games in the collection were based on their respective Anniversary Edition ports, which UDG didn't receive. On the other hand, they launched the Anniversary Edition of V3 with Decadence, so it's not like they didn't have the capability to tweak UDG to work with the Switch instead of wasting on this other thing. Then we have those themes, and, well, we've seen what this game is capable of in terms of its intensity, and, well, it's not something the ESRB would freak out over these days. Anyone who has played UDG or knows anything about it will point to its most infamous sequence as the most obvious example of that. The Motivation Machine, or whatever it's called, I don't think there's an official name for it, is a strict one-off gameplay bout of whack-a-mole and is so baffling and perverse a switch-up that it runs the risk of being the game's defining moment. I've had casual conversations with friends and some other fans who have played the series, and they're not too fond of the game almost solely because of this. I don't think this wholly represents the general consensus on UDG, but it's not like I'm a big fan of this sequence either.
Ooh, you're so sexy! I've heard women are the best just before they're ripe, but this is beyond my expectations.
Since I am talking about the game as a whole, though, I wanted to use this opportunity to figure out the intention behind it. Why include it? What was its purpose beyond the plot? And based on my findings, it's another parody? I think? So there was another PSP game out in the wild around the time of Dangan 1's initial release, titled Criminal Girls. From my understanding, you play as a rehabilitation instructor in hell, tasked with helping 7 damned, questionably aged female souls traverse through a multi-floor spire to the top so that they can be redeemed. One of the mechanics involves a motivation sequence of its own, which can be used to raise these girls' abilities and gain their trust of the poor sap who's been taking care of them, where you follow these button prompts to successfully motivate the girls to attain buffs and stats and what have you. You starting to get the picture? What I found even more curious is that the game also had a Vita port released a few years later that was also localized in America and published by NIS, this time worldwide. And as you can imagine, it had to be toned down for the Western release. Fair warning, I could be totally wrong on this. I haven't played Criminal Girls or its sequel. I'm sure it's a good time. Please don't hurt me, Criminal Girlies. That is the fandom name, you can trust me on that. But UDG's motivation sequence feels like a parody of that. On a rating scale of winking nod to wholesale mockery, considering we're swatting away the appendages instead of using them to do the motivation, I'm gonna hedge my bets on wholesale mockery. But since the developers haven't elaborated on it in English beyond their own winking nods, I could be very wrong on this analysis. If I am off base, please inform me. Don't hesitate to tell me how fucking stupid I am too. After all, I am the idiot who thought an early 90s ero gay had a cheat code to uncensor its genitals, and I also said that the robbers in Reservoir Dogs were hitting a bank instead of doing a diamond heist. Like I said, I'm not an essayist, I'm a goof. Nor do I believe I'm the first to recognize that this isn't just gratuitous nonsense. I do have to wonder who in the hell we're controlling, though. Like, is Komaru doing it with her mind, or is it an entity unbeknownst to the player? A ghost, perhaps? Anyway, if my take don't satisfy you, there is an actual plot reason for why an elementary student has this motivation machine, and the implications from that statement aren't looking great, so let's check up on Toko.
Master Byakuya must have been talking about me!
Excellent. We're gonna shift gears here and talk a bit about how much I love Genocide Jack. Every single appearance that she has made, every laugh, every word, every one-liner has given me a big, dumb smile, and I love how the game leans into her antics even outside of the gameplay. Like the way she freaks out the Numa Numa kids who are holding onto the girl's equipment, as well as a GPS navigator that shows where Komaru is being taken, and the way she reacts to finding the bullet train that's carrying her.
Oh, monorails are a first for me. Totally pumps me.
Beautiful. And the real cherry on top is Aaron Fitzgerald's performance. That fucking cackling, man. I adore it. I'm not as fond of her mandatory gameplay based around these ticking clock challenges and have way more time than would ever be considered challenging, but hey, those special attacks make all the difference. When Jack catches up to Komaru, she has to face off against the oh my god, those things are going hog wild. How has she not gotten a heart attack? And yes, this is a mini-boss fight before the actual boss fight, and if you thought UDG was gonna stop its parroting with Criminal Girls, you are sorely mistaken. Here we have something out of Senran Kagura, or Akiba's Trip Undead and Undressed, where the more Jack attacks Kotoko, the more clothing she tears off from her. Okay, well then.
Oh, cute. I'm actually 18, but this is really too much.
Before Jill can humiliate her any further, the train crashes into an unspecified building, giving her enough time to get Komaru out of the motivation machine, and the two finally reunite.
I thought you wouldn't come. I mean, right after we had that fight.
Fight? What the hell are you talking about? I just want to save Master Byaku.
Toko, I was so scared!
It's sweet, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, and I like how Komaru is breaking down and apologizing to Jill while she's the dominant personality, and she just responds like, fuck off. Once she does revert back to Toko, they can finally confront the wicked fighter and see her get some proper comeuppance.
Komaru Naegi? More like Komaru Naegi.
Kotoko's been making a lot of pedophile and child porn comments, and she went through some fucked up shit as a child. Unlike the last two though, she's the first to provide actual concrete details on what happened to her. She grew up as a child actress alongside her mother and other adult peers, and those adult peers could not keep their hands off her. If you think the mother was going to try to come to her rescue or was just completely unaware of this, oh, if only. She had her own inner demons, and it would appear she coped with it by joining in on Kotoko's gentle sessions. That daddy is a slick one, cheating with his dental assistant, so I guess his dental occupation just wasn't raking in as much dough as letting those freaks molest his daughter. Oh, sorry, be gentle with his daughter.
It's going to be all right. Kotoko is just so sweet. Everyone will be gentle with you. Very, very gentle.
I'm not entirely sure if this motivation machine here was part of that abuse, but it sure did a hell of a job demonstrating that abuse to Komaru, making her feel what it was like for people to be gentle to her. And that's another recurring element, putting Komaru through different emotional states as dictated by the trauma that these kids have gone through. Kotoko further adds to this lucidity by showing her contempt with the demons.
Using what I've learned, I can take down the demons and make them suffer as much as I did.
Not all adults are like that. There are good people who...
Then why didn't anyone save me? If the world is so good, why didn't anyone help me escape?
And that may be the most cutting line in the entire game. Now, this kid is like an active trauma volcano who's been holding in these thoughts and emotions to the point of bursting with the utterance of a single word, like a trauma bomb with a thinly veiled, perky facade who will drop inappropriate remarks and deflect any genuine emotion.
I don't know how she convinced you that she was some sweet, gentle girl, but...
Gentle? Gentle? Please! Stop with the gentle!
Thank you, Toko. Real help. Kotoko can't keep up her demeanor, and her ensuing breakdown results in the summoning of fighter robot Highlander the Great. Okay, no questions about what that's referencing. This fight's also a bit trickier with all the water flowing about, but it shouldn't be difficult to figure out what ammo to use to bring down Chris Lambert, even if that hit detection is really getting obnoxious by now. Once that gets taken care of, Kotoko is about to meet a similar fate to the last two Warriors of Hope years, before Toko Jack yanks her away from the gentle hands of the Monokuma kids and demands her to give them any information on where her master is. Priorities. You gotta love them. But before Kotoko can spill the beans, another Warrior of Hope arrives, Nagisa Shingitsu, the wise sage of the group and the new de facto ringleader after Masaru keeled over. Seeing the girls as a major impediment to the paradise that the warriors have envisioned, he offers to guide Komaru out of the city. And Toko too, if she wants to, I guess. The girls have no idea where this came from, and given everything they've been through, don't trust his words for a second. But Nagisa prostrates in shallow water. Prostrates. And removes the Boom Boom bracelet on Komaru's wrist to get them on board. Being the leader of a homicidal group of kids sure does place a lot of expectations on one's shoulders, and not living up to those expectations is Nagisa's worst nightmare. From the way he's acting, this desire of his doesn't seem to be coming from basic human nature, so y'all shouldn't temper your expectations in case you thought you were safe. Tokusatsu and Kamen Rider follow Nagisa towards this legendary secret exit through a back route into the city with the notion that the Monokumas won't attack him since he is one of the kids. This lasts about 5 seconds, and the journey to the secret city exit turns into another round of the Komaru and Toko protection racket. Either the kids caught wind of Nagisa's backstabbing, or someone else did, who knows. But so much for being a good leader if your foundation is splintering right before you. Once they get past the Monokuma ambushes, Nagisa provides the girls with some deeper insights into the warriors' origins, more hard-hitting tell-alls about what makes them tick. And you know what that means. Hell, our sage here might have the most fucked up backstory. What could be more fucked up than underage rape, you may ask? Oh, I don't know. How about his parents treating their son as a test subject to push the limits of a child's talent growth, where they made him study for multiple days on end, pumping him full of energy drinks and hooking him up to an IV to ensure he didn't fall asleep or faint, and preventing any means of resistance by any means necessary. Forgive me for breaking apart the cute little RPG analogies in the text here, but I think we're past the point of being cute. This happened at the school, by the way, Hope's Peak Elementary. I mean, what a lucky break he got, huh? With his father being a researcher there, probably no tuition, probably a tax break. It makes me want to fucking break a couple things too. Sorry, just got a little heated there. Forgot that Hope's Peak was run by fucking maniacs. Okay, what about the Warriors? How did they become the Warriors? Well, the kids all became friends after they'd been placed in the same troublemaker classroom. Nagisa doesn't elaborate on what he or the others exactly did to end up there. For all we know, their parents were collaborating with the school and decided to put them there for research purposes, the fucking ingrates. But while they all came from different backgrounds, the terrible ordeals they've been subjected to allowed them to bond with one another and come up with an easy solution to their problems.
We had to escape from the horrifying world that made us suffer. We were desperate to run away from our scary parents, scary adults, the whole scary world. And we thought there was only one way out.
Just before they go through with their genius plan here, the beautiful morning sun rises above these children to convince them otherwise, in the form of Junko Enoshima. She shows them how to smash the ideals their monstrous parents placed onto them through some good old-fashioned grooming, and soon they become her violent minions. Yes, Nagisa is also aware that what he and the Warriors of Hope have been doing is incredibly messed up, and that they are messed up themselves, very messed up, but following Junko and her manipulative ass is more preferable to them falling back into the clutches of their abusers. Not that that would have happened anyway.
And because of that hope, we were able to defeat the demon boss.
Demon boss?
Our parents.
You killed your parents? Honestly, I can't fault them for that. They deserved it. The Warriors' new outlook on life appeared to be short-lived following Junko's untimely death, but in the long run, her death emboldened their desires further, and at this point, they don't care who these demons are, what they did, or how they're suffering. They're still demons, and they're still terrified of them. So they all need to be eradicated. And neither of the girls can convince him otherwise. Ooh. Jesus, Kodaka. This is what you drew up during your break? What goes on in that mind of yours, man? After that riveting tale, Nagisa and the girls reach the top of this temple where that secret exit is located, just in time for Komaru to start having doubts about leaving behind Toko. She has given every indication that she does not want Komaru to leave, if those threats mean anything, but Toko's now saying that she will accept whatever decision that Komaru makes. An unconvincing lie Komaru sniffs out through her constant affirmations. Toko isn't the most honest serial killer this side of Towa City, but it's never been more apparent than it has been here, and Komaru's prodding wastes enough time to allow Servant Man to catch up with them.
Man, that was close. Truly a last-minute save.
Don't ask why he looks like that. He was the one who became aware of Nagisa's little stunt and gets him to retreat back to base after pointing out that he's betrayed his friends. Not that he cares much for the sanctity of the Warriors of Hope or anything. Nah, he just wants to keep the game going, and Komaru leaving the city would hinder that. After all, he was responsible for structuring the whole gameplay format, allowing her to grow as a character, become more powerful. Only the best for the most normal, uninteresting, utterly boring sister to the ultimate Hope. So he wants to be more involved with the Hope to Spare thing this time, because his ultimate look has just completely fried his brains. Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm supposed to pretend I don't know who this asshole is. Toko is a willing part of this whole scheme, as she made a deal with the Servant after entering Towa City to bring Komaru to the Warriors HQ in exchange for her beloved. Something did feel strange about her appearance and behavior from the get-go, like how did she find Komaru to begin with? Why did she know about the subway? Why does she continue to glue herself to the ultimate nobody after getting roasted to the high heavens? But Komaru was simply too naive and trusting to question anything about her, and Toko gladly confesses to her crimes, disregarding everything they've built up between each other.
Why would you believe in me? I have a split personality with a serial killer. I'm abnormal. All my life, nobody even tried to trust me. It's always been like that. That's why I've never had a problem lying to people. But regardless, why do you believe in someone like me?
And boy does it break her heart to do that. Her motivational speeches may now seem like performative nonsense, masking her true intentions and wild insecurities, but that changed at some point, assuming it wasn't always coming from an honest place. Whatever the case may be, all the self-deprecation and deception can't hide how this dilemma has been eating her up from the inside, and it's devastating to see her reduced to this state.
You're just a stupid idiot who got set up by the coward Toko Fukawa. Simple as that.
However, Toko's internal battle doesn't appear to be strong enough to keep the servant from influencing her, so she switches to Geno Smith to stop Komaru in her tracks. It's a weird, kinda, sorta, but not really mini-boss, where you just gotta let Komaru run around the arena here and let Jack's batteries run out while keeping them from recharging. But while Jill could easily tear Komaru apart if she wanted to,
What are you doing?
her clothes at least, she doesn't seem to be doing any damage. Jack may be a lunatic and a dull girl, but she is part of Toko, and Toko really does not want to hurt her companion after all they've been through. And for some reason, the servant believes that forcing the personality switch will enhance Jack's violent tendencies. To his credit, it does. Against him. But just before Jacques can finish White Boy off, Komaru risks her own safety to stop her, leading to what might be my favorite exchange in the whole game.
As expected. You just don't get it. I betrayed you. I betrayed you, you know?
No, you didn't. And you're suffering from guilt, aren't you? If you're hurting, you can tell me. I'm an unreliable, normal girl who can't do anything. But I can at least do normal things, right? And it's normal for a friend to help a friend. I'll stay. No matter how much you say no, I will definitely stay with you, all right? I've decided.
Man, so annoying. All that lip service talk that I hate, so damn irritating. Anybody can just say something. In that case, I'm a great detective, an astronaut, a reporter, and a Terra super beauty. And besides, you have absolutely no idea what I'm really like.
What do you mean?
There's no way I'd say no.
Huh?
Rather... Thanks.
God, it's beautiful. It's earnest, it's corny, it's everything I love in my stories. I also love how Toko just casually accepts Jack as part of her now. Komaru didn't tell Jack that she had no friends, and Jack wasn't the one who betrayed Komaru.
Is it perhaps that the other me has some annoying plan hidden up her sleeve, huh?
Okay, maybe they were aware of something, but here they are, bluntly accepting the blame just as Toko did moments ago. The barrier between both personalities seems to have finally been broken. I love these two goobers so much, and props to Jeremy Lee and Amanda C. Miller here. They really did bring out their A game, and it's some of the best voice work that you'll hear in this series. Shout out to all the other voice actors too. I don't think there's a single bad performance in this game. With one exception, but we'll get to it.
A wound like this will not diminish my resolve. Though it does hurt.
Oh yeah, White Boy's still alive. The servant's cryptic, potentially crippled ass doesn't provide the girls a clear path forward beyond defeating the final boss, but Komaru gathers that they need to stop the other Warriors of Hope in order to save the town and free Byakuya.
Such splendid growth. Your world has gradually grown wider.
The freshly established friends start making their way back to the secret base, having realized that they're gonna need plenty of help to tackle that final boss. And they'll have plenty of time to mull over how they're gonna recruit those neurotic inhabitants because they just won a 7-day, 6-night sweepstakes vacation to Anchorage, Alaska. Why risk death when you can freeze your ass off in the coldest place in the country? Nah, I'm just kidding. Another Monokuma kid pops up to put them on a scavenger hunt. Honestly, I don't really mind these segments. Like, one thing that UDG definitely has over Rule of Rose, it has much better gameplay. Wait a minute. What the? Oh yeah, I moved that part ahead. Now I'll fix it later. What are we talking about? So I've been kind of dancing around the gameplay for this video game, but I didn't want to interrupt any of the heartwarming Yuri yarn on display here, and like, do I even need to talk about this? Like, you have eyes. You can determine whether or not the gameplay is good.
Welcome! I made a mistake!
Okay, again, I'm kidding. Of course I'm going to talk about it. This is what separates UDG from the other Dangan games after all. It's just complicated. As previously stated, the general structure for each area is a simple matter of getting from point A to point B. So let's go further in depth about the things that can be done in between, starting with that hacking gun. Komaru had to regather all of the truth bullet variants thanks to this dipshit reprogramming the thing for game balance, but the actual capabilities of those bullets is limited. The most basic and most effective for combat is the break bullet, which can be used to attack those infernal Monokuma lurking these mortal realms. If you've got a good aim, you can take them out instantly by shooting their iconic red eye. And I'd highly recommend doing so because dealing with more than one of these things at a time with the hacking gun is goddamn annoying. Most of the other bullet types have more contextual or complementary uses as the different types of Monokuma enemies are introduced. Because of course the Warriors of Hope were gonna rest on their still developing laurels with a single type of Monokuma. That'd be silly. And so you'll face off against Monokuma bots that chuck explosives and explode themselves upon death, a Monokuma who will alert all bots in the area of the girls' location, a fucked up abomination that's begging for death, one dressed up in riot gear in solidarity with those pigs, the greatest piece of machinery ever conceived, the suicide bomber, and, Winnie the Pooh in heat. It is possible to get by with using these break bullets over and over again, and then refilling your supply courtesy of these gashapon machines placed all over the city, but there are more efficient opportunities in dealing with these monsters that the game frequently sets up. For instance, here's this dance bullet that makes the Monokumas stop in their tracks to bust a move. Why not use it on that alarm Monokuma to attract its friends and set up a perfect strike, especially if there's a bomb Monokuma among them that can decimate the whole crew. Or this knockback bullet that can disarm the shield Monokumas or send the lovable ball Monokuma on its merry way into more Monokumas. Or you can just ram a car into these fucking idiots. You can't help being a Gemini. I do find these bullets to be useful under these circumstances, but I never found myself using them much outside those circumstances. And not because they weren't effective on their own, although the Link bullet was kind of disappointing because it lets you control any Monokuma in your general vicinity for a limited time, but here's me trying to use the Suicide Bomber's flamethrower. You're better off using the break bullets. There just happen to be a more reliable combat measure. Anytime during gameplay and during those required segments we saw a few of earlier, we can give Toko a shock to her system, making her switch to Jilthany Jack Tano, and the game switch to some rudimentary hacking and slashing mechanics using her forever sharp scissors. Her arsenal is a lot more impressive and flashier than Komaru's, especially her special attacks that do heavy damage or fully wipe out any Monokuma forces and never stops being funny. It's like a moodier lunatic Bayonetta, and unlike that witch, she is invincible. Would you expect anything less from our fair lady? The devs weren't adding in Toko and Jilko just cause they loved her. Her gameplay was designed to allow players not used to the new Danganronpa action style to easily progress through these combat scenarios. The catch is, she's battery powered, and once she runs out of juice, it's right back to Domaru, so you can't cheese the entire game with her. Or at least that's what they intended. For as unrefined as she may feel, I went with Jack Dollboy as often as I could. Partly because it made combat less annoying, and the spectacle of her slicing and dicing was just more fun to play, and partly because of the aforementioned Gashapon machines. While the devs were aiming for RE4 style gunplay, it's just too slow and clunky for its own good. I suppose it makes sense within the context of survival horror, but why bother using the hacking gun when you have a former serial killer at your disposal? Now, you can acquire upgrades for both forms of weaponry and provide the girls more abilities, including making the reticle aim faster, and the ability to move and shoot at the same time. Wow. But no amount of customization will make the hacking gun combat any more fun whenever there's more than one Monokuma on the screen. Seriously, try using the auto-aim when that's happening. It's a wreck. Now, there is a much better use for the hacking gun, though, and it's whenever combat becomes less about resolving the problem, rather, solving a problem. Among all the other anomalies in Towa City, the girls will come across these game corners, where they will need to accomplish a specific objective using specific truth bullets, while using this arcade machine to survey the room ahead and plan out their strategy. Most of the time, the goal is to get rid of all the Monokumas in a chain reaction of some sort without them seeing the girls, although there are some instances where you'll have to outright stealth your way around the room. Ooh, what a pretty song. You don't have to go that route if you're not aiming for a high grade and high praise from the Prickster here, but...
As expected of the woman I entrusted with my life, it was not wrong of me to believe in you. Why the surprised expression? You idiot. You're the only one I trust. Don't you know that by now?
Is it really worth it not to? And frankly, these were my favorite gameplay segments in all of Ultra Despair Girls. I loved strategizing the perfect run for these areas, and pulling it off without a hitch so much more satisfying than anything that the combat could muster up. Now, I do find the ones involving these holograms as a distraction method to be a bit awkward. I know the bots are under the kid's command, but I'm not sure if I like this imagery. And as I'm writing this too, I just now realized that they're kind of vaping Portal, in a way. Or, well, okay, I found myself in the same kind of mindset when coming up with a solution, minus the physics, so just add that game to the ever-growing list. There are other puzzle challenges outside the rooms, which is where the oft-forgotten detect bullet sees its most frequent use. Like, really, this thing is about as contextual as a mechanic as you can get. You can scan things to use in some of those puzzles, and to collect these 5 hidden kids sparkling around each chapter. That's it. Imagine if Leon needed to use one specific bullet to collect the various gems lying about in RE4. In fact, imagine if Leon had only one gun, the Gananos were more like Left 4 Dead enemies instead, each headshot against them was an instant kill, and every other room had Gananos placed in exact spots or patrolling exact routes, and he had to slay them in an exact order without getting caught. Oh, and Ashley was a psychotic serial killer that Leon can switch to whenever he doesn't feel like shooting his way out of a situation. These are all thoughts that I had during my initial playthrough 5 years ago, and they have not changed a whole lot upon replay. In fact, allow me to elaborate on the series' gameplay at large, because I have some thoughts there too. I don't believe Danganronpa has ever done active gameplay very well. The visual novel stuff, the crime scene investigations, the contradiction hunting and the trials, basically whenever the game's acting like Ace Attorney, that's the good shit. I like it. When you add in those stupid shooting elements and those gimmicky minigames though, no thanks. UDG was the most fun I had in the series up to this point in that regard, and it's still not great. But there was a different aspect to the gameplay that I discovered upon my replay, and something that reviewers had picked up on as well. Ultra Despair Girls is a very linear game, and while being a linear game is not a problem in and of itself, the way UDG railroads the girls down specific paths and forgoes any other direction until it says otherwise doesn't exactly complement the more explorative nature that it was attempting. For some peculiar reason, however, the devs didn't appear to be satisfied with ensuring the player gets through combat without much of a hassle. They didn't want any player to be lost while going through these complex, weaving, ruined environments. So around the time that one Monokuma kid breaks Komaru's spine and yoinks the key to the subway away from her, the game introduces this UFO helper which will point towards the right direction that the player should be going in if they get lost, or forget that the map of whatever area that the girls are in can normally be read in the menu. It's strange. It's so strange. Like, not even its inspirations were this rigid. Although there was about as much padding, and leaning against the fourth wall doesn't really help in these matters, even if one could view this as the Monokuma kids fucking around with Komaru and Toko. Alright, yeah, this is a little bit nitpicky, but this leads into a much greater issue. In addition to its weird gameplay gimmicks, Danganronpa's been weird about general pacing. Like, say whatever you want about how some of the Ace Attorney games play out, but ooh boy does Danganronpa like to fuck around. Usually the writing intention from the story do a good enough job of making up for that, and I'm not about to complain that there's too much dialogue in my action game or anything. I like these interactions, I like these characters, I like mostly everything about the narrative. But consider this. The previous games were adventure visual novel hybrids, meaning about 80% of the player experience was reading dialogue, with the rest, like the investigative sequences, the free time dating sim fluff, the fucking mini-games, and those few bits in 2 that were cribbing from Twilight Syndrome and Zero Escape, being spread out in between. In UDG's case, the change up in genre and subsequent increase in gameplay time has shifted this ratio closer to 50-50, maybe 60-40 if you don't bother collecting stuff, and as a result, the flow between the two feels inconsistent at best and a drag at worst. Take that prologue for example. By my estimate, it has only 10 minutes of active gameplay within the hour and a half it takes to complete it. And once our Ultra Despair girls come together, you never know when the game will initiate a dialogue sequence and how long that conversation will last. This isn't much of an issue if you are a fan of the narrative like I am, but if you're not, this unconventionality might be the game's undoing. And yet I can't help but find that unconventionality very, very appealing without any regard for narrative structure or pacing. Like, here's a team who's known for these visual novel adventure games setting out to make an action title, and the result is something to that effect. Something with a lineage to popular action games, but very unpolished and almost jumbled together alongside with an intense story about killer robot bears and the abused children who control them. Of course it's gonna end up like this. Of course it's going to be messy. That's what makes it so fascinating. Seriously though, I don't know what's stopping the girls from gunning towards Shitsville to consummate their ultimate friendship, but whatever. Komaru gets to exert her power over these little runts again, so I'm cool with it. When the gloating subsides, they head back underground where we're treated to a very cute friendship sequence.
Well, I hope we get along together, Toki. What happened, Toki? Are you okay, Toki?
It's fine. I will withstand it. I will go through this horrible friendship ritual.
Another adult who's been driven insane from the madness. And an extended series of environmental challenges involving use of the link bullet, which culminates in Komaru blowing a massive hole into the ground that somehow transforms the subway railing into a ladder. Okay, Abby Last of Us trekked through more ridiculous territory, so I'll let that one slide too. The girls conveniently land close to home base, and while they do ponder the scenario of these basement dwellers immediately seizing their friendship passes upon arrival, they're relieved to find the place is overrun with Monokumas instead. Different verse, same as the first. This time with extra horror, but yeah. And afterwards, Shirakuma explains to them that there's another big old hole in the back end of the base that needs to get covered up in order to prevent more attacks, and he offers to sacrifice himself for that greater good. The White Bear may have defected from his kind, but he's still got the same kind of internal workings. A crap ton of explosives. Unfortunately, he can't set them off on his own thanks to a non-functioning self-destruct button, so he asks Komaru to do the dirty deed. Okay.
Thank you.
Shirakuma's plan works, and thus the day is saved. Although Haiji isn't all that grateful, and the remaining survivors are back to their inactive, cowardly ways in no time flat. Komaru has seen enough horror for one game though, and decides to stir up the crowd with a rousing speech about how it's okay to be normal, and that's not cringe.
How much longer are you going to be just another victim?
Huh?
You're normal. You're weak. How much longer are you going to use those damn excuses? You're just happy to be a victim and ignore everything around you. Are you really okay with that, you coward? Maybe you can't help being normal, but you can't just keep using that as an excuse. If you do, someday, you're gonna lose something that's important to you, you know? And after that, it'll be too late. It's obvious that we're all afraid. I'm just as scared as you are. But even though I'm afraid, I know I made the right decision. To stay here with Toko. Because if I just went and left her, I think I would have regretted it.
Komaru?
For real, this is another great stop on her character growth train, and a needed one for these adults who haven't heard her perspective yet. I mean, they did hear something like that, and they need an attractive teenage girl saying it to get them out of their funk. In any case, they loves it, Haiji loves it, and Shirakuma loves it, because of course he's not dead. And even if he was, I wouldn't have cared. What do you want? I think he's boring. Haiji's so moved by Komaru's words that he finally swallows his pride and asks the girls to assist him on what he considers the Resistance's Hail Mary. Man, he might actually be cool after all. And then look at that sick-ass motorcycle. Where was this the entire time? Oh yeah, things are looking up. He might be able to redeem himself. I'm on the Haiji cycle. Let's go.
I like him younger. As young as possible.
Why the fuck would he say that? Is he stupid? I am very disappointed that this video here didn't include that line. He might have refused to go any further with it, but when someone has an out-of-pocket line like this in their catalog, you gotta make an attempt. What's the harm?
Actually, can I leave now?
Anyway, Mr. Lolita takes the girls underground, no, not in that way, to a secret factory run by his family's group. Towa Group, in case you forgot. He's a Towa. Remember? Meaning he's a rich kid. Is it any wonder he's a pedophile? Fitting that this scumbag was the one who brought the girls to this factory because gameplay-wise, it's the worst area of UDG. Any secret factory with a secret actually worth keeping would do well with a high-tech security system, so this secret factory is filled with these rotating lasers that you have to avoid by ducking behind cover. Should Komaru get in the laser's path, it'll summon a bunch of Monokuma bots to attack the three of them, and she'll need to take out the alarm Monokuma up top to get rid of the army. The lasers moving so quickly is annoying by itself, but it's hard to judge exactly where the lasers are getting cut off by the cover, and I constantly found myself on the wrong side more than I probably should have. This triggers the same cutscenes over and over again upon activation, and the others two will piss on Komaru for screwing up, and...
You aren't doing it on purpose, are you? Because that would seriously piss me off.
Fuck it. At least the devs were courteous enough to place multiple save points throughout. These potty trainer save points, if I haven't mentioned it yet. No limits. And there are some more game corners to break up the frustration, including an escape room-like puzzle that involves logical deduction and shuts these lasers off once solved. Planetary symbols? I know where they got the idea for this oh yes, of course, silly me, skipped right by it. Towa Group has Monokuma security bots roaming around the factory because they lost control of them after everything went haywire, so it should be no surprise that once these three get to the bottom of the factory... Haiji's so-called trump card is a giant Monokuma King Monokuma? In addition, Towa Group were responsible for the Monokuma bot's creation, with their original purpose being assistance with menial tasks or hard labor or things like that. A robot assistant, if you will. Miss you, bae. Before he can further reveal who was responsible for the design, Nagisa barges into the fray with his own giant robot, looking rather worse for wear. Actually, they both made an appearance right after Komaru and Toko left the servant to bleed out of the shrine path in a "I'm getting my big brother to kick your ass" way. I don't know why I'm mentioning that now. Maybe it's just wishful thinking that he turned him into a small pink stain. But, sorry, getting off track again. Something happened in between that's caused this boy to have his own mental crisis, and if he's not dealt with, King Monakuma's as good as gone. So Komaru gears up for a fight against the sage robot, Hannibal. Lecter, I presume. I wonder if he had abandonment issues. Hannibal is probably the most unique of the game's robot boss fights in that there's no crowd to cheer Nagisa on. How ironic. And there's plenty of platforms for Hannibal to jump on and for Komaru to hide behind while Hannibal easily ganks her because he's out of view. Maybe the last section was prepping us for this fight after all. Once we get Hannibal's patterns down, though, and this little shooting gallery segment commences, we can make Genocide Jack open him up a few times before he has a mechanical breakdown and crushes Nagisa along with all his ambitions.
Guess you could say he wasn't expecting that.
Ha. Ha ha. Go fuck yourself, Woody Allen. Now that they've acquired Big Bang Monokuma, the trio gracefully ride into the city, where Haiji gladly shows off its capabilities. And the opposition is no match for the hulking giant. Good on the Resistance for finally pushing back against these shrimps, finally. But, remember how Haiji mentioned that the adults without children of their own were the ones being spared? That's coming to rear its ugly head, and their predisposed nature against children, alongside with their newfound power, has gotten them...
So listen up! Teach those deranged kids who really runs this town! Towa City! Our home! Our town!
Looking for blood, which the girls realize could turn into a big problem, as do Shirokuma Head and Ms. Hagakure. Both of them fear if the adults' murderous fervor does not subside, a bloodbath could occur on both sides of the conflict. So the girls' best bet is finding the device controlling all the Monokuma bots and smash it up, disabling the kids' army, and maybe getting the adults to cool off. Komaru's resolve and confidence has reached an all-time high, so she's all for this. And the girls head off for the kids' HQ at Towa Hills, where Shirokuma suspects the device is located at, to end this nightmare once and for all. Oh, these folks are so pumped up that they started turning Japanese. Yes, I really think so. Towa Hills ain't too far from where the rebellion kicked off, and on the way, we can see the reality sinking in for these Monokuma kids, as they are the ones now cowering in fear. I would say serves those little shits right, but given how sympathetic the game's been to its villains, look, it's not like they did anything wrong. They weren't the horrific robots that killed all those parents. They were controlling them. Oh, dancehall remix. Now, for judging the game by its soundtrack, though, it's a mix of previous songs and a bunch of the variations of that trip-hop-esque themed. It's filled with the scuts. And I was going to criticize it for that until I listened to all of the game's soundtracks and realized that they're all consisting of previous tracks past the first game. And that's also exactly what Ace Attorney did, so... well, let's just judge this on whether or not it had Beautiful Eye. It doesn't have Beautiful Eye, it sucks. Ambient techno beats out trip hop any day of the week. Anyway, as soon as our heroes reach the entrance to the giant building, Toko picks up the McPrickster scent, so they're on the right track. Cautiously so, since they are in the proverbial lion's den. The doors leading to the upper floors of this building are blocked by the kids' mechas, or copies of them, and to move them out of the way, the girls have to go through another series of puzzle rooms, each one leading to the abode for one of the Warriors of Hope, where the control mechanisms are for each mecha. We also get a bit more context into the viewpoints of their horrible, horrible parents. Maybe it's because I've been going through a bunch of media with child abuse as a recurring theme in the past year, but man, did these writers and localizers do a swell job of pushing my buttons. And I'll leave it to you to decide if that's a good thing. This delay in progress isn't solely for padding purposes, as the girls discover something very important in regards to the Monokuma kids. Those helmets they've been wearing have been doing a good old brain rinsing on them.
He clearly means brainwash.
Okay, Ms. Pedantic, steal my thunder. But yes, they are just another tool for the Warriors of Hope in their quest to build an ultimate paradise. I would say their plan has backfired completely, but something's amiss here, and Toko realized that earlier too. The Master's beckon calls for them, however, and the girls continue their way up the building where they are greeted by another massive foyer, more Monokuma kids hiding away from the battles outside, and an elevator that'll take them all the way up to the top that's also locked. If this were an accurate portrayal of children, all the doors would be unlocked. Ding! Just before Ko and To give up for good, maybe join in the battle, kill a couple kids, hold hands, French kiss, Haiji shows up. Looks like he was already overwhelmed by the swath of mini Monokumas and needed to vent about it. So he aggressively explains that this elevator can only be activated via retinal scanner.
Retinal? Is that an animal?
Retinal means eye.
Oh, it's okay when she does it to Komaru, she's an idiot. The scanner will only accept the beautiful irises of Towa Group's chairman, i.e. Haiji's father, who not only suffered alongside his kid diddler's son in the Monokuma fallout, he was massacred by them right before Haiji's eyes. Okay, maybe I shouldn't be too harsh towards the man. His family has been broken apart. He's obviously broken himself, given his self-outing earlier and ominous ramblings about who exactly locked the elevator. But we'll see how long that holds up. In the meantime, Haiji believes his deceased father should still be in the same place where he keeled over, the chairman's office. The girls head over there to add some more trauma to their repertoire.
Hey, Toko?
What? Did you find it?
I did, but what should I do? It's laying on the floor. It's looking at me.
And it goes about as well as you'd expect. At least you didn't puke.
You look pale. Are you okay? Well, actually, never mind. I know you're not.
The newly acquired key does the trick like Haiji said it would, and the girls prepare for the long ride up.
Ghost! The ghost of a severed head!
Okay, maybe she has lost it. But Toko manages to bring Komaru out of her absolutely insane delusions, and they hop on this bitch to fucking gank up on those kids. Unless this flickering texture is a sign of her mental state, in which case we're all fucked. Oh look, here's a fun little puzzle room. She likes those. Maybe that will calm her senses.
Girl, what is she doing?
Ah! You two! Please help me! These perverted bear robots are gonna gang up on me!
Or not. Don't worry, gentle lady. I got this.
We got caught!
I got this. I got this. Kotoko's eager to tell the girls about her recent ongoings after being rescued by them yet again, in that she also received the betrayal treatment from the only warrior of hope who has yet to receive an ass whooping, before gladly telling the two of their whereabouts. They're also not very trusting of the girl who almost broke Komaru in an entirely different way than Haiji, but she also mentions the dickhead's location, so maybe she's not too bad.
You mean that blonde guy who looks like he has really pretty nipples?
Wait, hold on, did he have nipples? No. No nipples here. A six-pack, but no nipples. Why does she think...
Who looks like he has really...
You need therapy, girl.
All I gotta do is strip that brat down and snag that key.
Yeah, and after she's stripped down, bury her legs and let starving dogs come eat her.
Okay, both of you need therapy. Following that lucky encounter, the girls are set to finish their journey, but come across a very non-threatening door and head on in for kicks and giggles, only to find some non-threatening ancient torture equipment and blood splatter throughout. Like I said, non-threatening.
Hey, Toko, can you take a look at the...
Oh, and Haiji makes another appearance and says that this is the room where all those dastardly children tortured and maimed the loved ones of those hiding underground. If you're wondering how exactly the kids figured out who those loved ones were, so is Toko, because like I said, she's been questioning a lot of things since the counterattack started.
And so should you, viewer. The dots are there. Can you connect them before it's too late?
So yeah, this guy wants those kids super dead. The girls leave Haiji to his own devices, hopefully for the final time, and Komaru finds herself needing to convince her partner to push on ahead for a change. Whew. Wow, that's amazing. Now all Toko needs to do is start crying every 5 seconds and they'll have swapped personalities altogether. The closer the two get to the top of Towa Hills, the stronger pompous Venus's scent becomes. And after Toko has an orgasm or two, they finally come across the big-ass airship Komaru had fallen out of so long ago. I had something written down for this area, but I think I erased it, so let's just rush through the Monokuma fight, side-scrolling action, creepy hallways, sad writing, big door, and who do they find behind the big door?
Hey!
Skipping. Pick another door, Komaru, any door. If you pick the wrong one, you're gonna... Oh, shit.
Hey, can you hear me? Are you okay?
Yep, if you do pick the wrong door here, the game sets you all the way back to the beginning, erases your save, and tells you to fuck off. I would be pissed, but I gotta hand it to my goat. He sure knows how to play a mean game, so let's take it from the top. Komaru's little misadventure knocks her out cold for 2 days while putting her back into the same situation we were introduced to her with, and upon waking from her slumber, she's greeted by the one and only Cockface. Mr. Cockface is in a similar predicament to Komaru, if the chains give off that notion, though he seems more interested in toying with her than helping her. Classic Cockface behavior. At least he has the courtesy to give her back the hacking gun with one slight caveat. Most of the bullets she was previously using in the tutorial are now gone for the purpose of game balance. Is he doing this as an order from whoever's running this show, or is it just more cockface antics? Actually, who exactly is he cockfacing to? Of course, the weird-ass kids from the TV, namely Masaru Diamond, Nagisa Shingetsu, Jotaro Kamamama, Kotoko Mobuleba, and Monaca. Monaca. Get on!
Liar!
Monaca!
Head bitch!
Monaca! I've been hiding something from y'all. I know the bulk of this video is me poorly rushing through a 15-hour game, so I wanted to have some fun this Halloween, and save the real important shit for last. If you've played the game already, you may have already noticed that something was missing, but for the uninitiated, let me spoil the magic. The Monaca magic. This is not the first time we're seeing the disabled girl with the unripened banana hair, and it remains to be seen if she's gonna make that landing or end up a crumpled mess on the floor once we cut back to the present. So let us discuss this ever-important mage. How exactly she earned that moniker is twofold, as she isn't so much a beacon for people to unite under like Komaru is, rather an individual whom these people will do anything for, like she's put them under her spell or something. Monaca also refers to Monaca as Monaca when speaking to others as Monaca, so she's self-absorbed, is quick to burst out into fits, and has spoiled brat energy coursing through her veins. But she's got something up her sleeve, and that becomes more apparent the more appearances she makes. Those appearances take the form of these interstitial scenes that give the player an update on how the Warriors of Hope are doing after certain moments in the game, if you will. The first of them being after Masaru's passing.
I feel so bad for Masaru. This is just too cruel. He always acted all big and was a perverted idiot, but he was a pretty good person.
Seem to be affected by it. They built a whole memorial for the former leader, they're mourning his loss, praying for his safety, but once the new leader starts to question Masaru's status, Monaca starts displaying unnerving bewilderment at the idea, throws another fit, and sends out a few pointed jabs about Nagisa's character for good measure. And after all that, she ends up forgetting whoever they were mourning for, so there's not much a facade on display, rather a power imbalance. Next time we see Monaca is after Donatello's turn to commit die, and giving up on the whole memorial thing in general after either getting bored of it or because she says she can't fill up the coffin. It really doesn't take too long for the game to make it clear that she does not give one shit about her fellow warriors, and it's quite hilarious whenever she's not playing mind games. That magic of hers is very potent, and a key part of her becoming this kind of figure was how she brought the warriors back up from despair after their newfound paternal figure kicked the bucket. Unsurprisingly, she was the one who admired Junko the most, and it shows, because when Kotoko starts questioning her about their defeated comrades, she gets reduced to a nervous puddle when Monaca uses her trigger word, as if to say, "Ha ha ha, silly children, you can't escape your trauma even amongst your own kind." Stupid, stupid, dumb fucking pricks, a lot of them. Hug. And then they throw white stuff on the servant man, so it becomes funny again and balances out. Oh, speaking of funny, we also get introduced to another character during these scenes, another Monokuma variant at that.
I can finally talk!
Skipping. Monika's rampant behavior finally comes to a head once Nagisa scampers away from the shrine as he kicks Servant Man here in the gut a few times. Sorry, I had to savor this. And he didn't just point out to Nagisa that he betrayed his friends in attempting to get Komaru out of Towa City, he also pointed out that he could have stopped the games altogether if their paradise was their priority. And I'm not happy to admit that he's right, because Monaca was the one who sent the servant out to the shrine in the first place, and everything that he carried out. She don't care about her family or no goddamn paradise, she just wants to cause as much despair as possible, like Big Sis Junko did, as she toils away at crafting a successor to lead that new despair when they weren't looking. Poor confused Nagika then receives a big old wet one from her, and oh, Jesus. Alright, look, the motivation scene was pretty uncomfortable, but don't forget that this thing's here too. Especially when Nagisa starts slapping the shit out of Monaca, and she continues to gaslight and manipulate.
Maybe nobody ever expected anything of you in the first place. You probably just thought they did. Maybe it was all a misunderstanding.
Don't come near me! Get back! Get back!
Oh, Jesus. She's really good at that. And I don't think it's entirely Junko's influence doing the work. Why are you not saying Junko, you fucking idiot? You're not a true fan. Monika's now free to watch the revolt play out and act like the little shit that she was already being, just without the flimsy pretense of being a sweet, innocent, disabled girl. Which leads back to...
Whoa! Good morning! Good morning!
Oh my gosh, what a shock. Except the girls had already gone through the very room where all these wacky events happened, and Monika's room too, only accessible via ladder. So either she had insane upper body strength like Michael Phelps did, or... Alright, so we got the gist on Monaca being a troublemaker, but what is her actual deal? What's her baggage? What troubled her as a kid? Well, would you believe that she doesn't have a reason to do all this and she's just being evil for the sake of it? Like sister, like sister. Ugh, I really gotta stop doing this. As she put to writing, Monaca was abandoned by her mother at a very young age and raised by her adulterous father along with her half-brother, both of whom treated her as an outcast, a nuisance, a literal bastard child. If you want to gauge the level of abuse that she was subjected to, when she started using the wheelchair to gain sympathy from her adopted family, they believed her wholeheartedly. So I imagine it went something along the lines of... The father and brother did this partly out of jealousy due to, and here's the other element of her mage abilities, Monaca being a technical genius. That brain power sure proved useful for her family's tech company though, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out which family I'm referring to. Indeedio, Monaca is a Towa-o, and she is the one who designed and built the Monokuma bots under the guise that they would be helping the general populace, when in actuality, they were to be used by Junko for the tragedy. Like with the others, Monaca was aware that Junko was only taking advantage of her tech skills, but I guess when you're so thoroughly tainted with despair and follow someone who lives to see the world burn, you end up wanting to see the world burn. Her daddy president didn't catch wind of these ongoings until it was too late, and she subsequently blackmailed him into keeping quiet while getting him to build the weapons and devices that Towa used to fight against the tragedy. Exactly what they accused Future Foundation of doing. How devious. And what a fool the Towa father was. Did he really think Monaca was going to spare her family's asses after her side plans came to fruition? Maybe he did. And maybe he was just too scared of her. This long list of revelations go a long way to make up for her lack of presence throughout the game, and would be a bit more hard-hitting if the game didn't gleefully spoil this big turn during the hallucination bit with Komaru earlier.
I know. You're Mr. Haiji's father, right?
I see. You know Haiji. Then do you know his little sister Monaca too?
With that in mind, I wanted to discuss another thought that came about during my replay and I heavily pondered during the writing process. In tune with many of the game's elements being lesser than the previous two games, I don't think the story as a whole is nearly as good either, and it comes down to those reveals and twists. The first two had all of the time in the world to carefully lay out its story and reveals, and while one was a bit rough at the start, its various parts added up to a nicely told mystery. Same goes for 2. Like, eons better. With UDG, well, this very scene illustrates my issues with how the game lays out its story. Initially, it just feels like another funny gag in a game peppered with funny gags and dialogue among all the horror and tragedy.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
That's Danganronpa style, after all. But when its purpose goes beyond a funny gag, I'm left questioning whether or not the devs intended it for it to be the reveal, or if they were trying to trick the player into thinking this was just a dumb gag so that the actual reveal would hit harder. In this case, you can maybe argue that they were just fucking around, but then you have stuff like the vignettes with the Warriors of Hope. Like, there's a reason why I separated them from this recounting of the main story. They're just so haphazardly placed. For example, the scene where Kotoko has her anxiety attack with Monaca, that is shown right when our heroines begin their descent down Towa Tower before they have their little spat. And in another example, you know that whole thing with Nagisa? This one occurs when the girls climb down the subway railing ladder. The way this is all structured makes any of the ongoing mysteries and twists just fall flat. And yes, I know the previous games have their own structural issues, but they managed to congeal the story elements in a way that made for a satisfying mystery. The only parts that I can recall being absolutely shocked with in UDG were, well, the shock elements, the abuse. It's a shame it's just so messy because I like these kids.
Splattered like the sound of bloody chopped meat. Intestines falling out of you like sausages.
Okay, looking past that, I like their distinct origins within the Danganronpa canon and how they made for a fun misfit team with decent chemistry and banter, a bit similar to Komaru and Toko, come to think of it. Sure, Monaca may have been using her friends for her own gain, but reading through some of those diaries, she's just as miserable as the others are. Like, she makes a comment about how she wasn't actually gonna jump off with the other kids when they were gonna fucking kill themselves, but girl, this makes for a pretty good suicide note. I don't believe you for a second. I feel like they were all friends at some point, but the despair corrupted too much of them. And I also want to clarify that I don't think the story is bad. Far from it, as I've highlighted many times. I just cooled on it since my first playthrough, and I wouldn't be surprised if others have as well. It's kind of hard not to feel that way after going through V3 a few months later, but that's another topic entirely. Now, you want to know who is a bad character and a bad part of the story?
That was tough! I shall not be silent! Not have to keep him quiet for that damn long!
Yeah, we can't skip him this time. Ladies and gents and non-binaries and all you Monacas out there, I present to you Kurokuma. He's another sentient Monokuma of epic proportions who's supposed to be the advisor to the Warriors of Hope, and I hate him. He's not hateable in the same way that the kids or the servant or fucking Haiji are hateable. He's just hateable because every single sentence out of his mouth is some stupid crass remark or joke that I just didn't find amusing. Yes, I know it's intentional. It's not like the kids enjoy his presence either, but no matter how many hugs he gets from Monaca, I was not having fun when he was on screen. It's funny considering that this is also Aaron Fitzgerald doing the voice. I don't even think Brian Baycock could have salvaged it. The only faint praise that I could give him is that he works as a contrast to Shirokuma, who's not exactly a perfect character himself, what with his wimpy high-pitched voice that sounds more condescending than calming. but at least he did stuff. Instead of lounging around and making gay jokes about the servant, which makes me want to use the servant to pulverize him into dust. Oh, pardon me, scratch that from the rough draft, Doc. He does do something once Monaca shows her deception to the girls. Guess who has that fabled Monokuma controlling device in their possession and isn't keen on giving it to our heroes? That's right, baby, it's final boss time, and Monika's transforming Robo Mafioso into the ultimate mecha boss, one that combines the abilities and features from all of the previous mecha bosses and shall henceforth be known as Mage Robot Black Suspirian. Not sure why we're referencing Jello films now, but it works for me, and it's a fight all you bloodthirsty rebels do not want to miss. At least that's what I would say if it weren't so boring. Suspirian doesn't exactly pull out all the stops more than it rehashes the same basic attacks from the other 4 mechas while still having the same exact fucking hit detection issues. And now we have to hear Kurokuma's ceaseless quips, so it just becomes even more of a slog than usual. For the bajillionth time, thank fuck for Genocide Jack. And after Suspirian blows up, Kurokuma graciously exits stage left as Monaca reluctantly hands the Monokuma control device over to Komaru.
But that was... well, it was kind of easy.
Oh my god, she always picks the right time to start having these doubts. Look, lady, there is a net zero chance that bear will be back with more cringe in a few minutes, and if Toko's alright with you breaking the device, I am too. So allow me to make that decision for you, my dear. Gorgeous fireworks. What a great job. We did it, boys. We did it, girls. It's time for a celebration.
It's all thanks to me. Everything is all my fault.
Okay, party pooper. The Suspirian fight may not have been anything special, but Danganronpa normally saves its best bits for last, and Ultra Despair Girls is no exception. There ain't no debate hall for a long-winded, purposely exhausting trial with the big bad dedicated to fucking the player about to take place in, though, so UDG will have to do things a little differently as per usual. That machinery is doing something other than controlling all the Monokumas in Towa City, and its destruction ain't gonna have any long-term benefits for no one, so let's see if we can work this out by not breaking it.
Sorry, something is concerning me.
Concerning you?
Concerning you? Concerning or disconcerting?
Yeah, this is Danganronpa, fellas. It's gonna do everything in its power to wear down its main characters, and by proxy, the player. In choosing not to destroy the device due to a renewed hesitancy, Komaru wastes enough time conflicting over the idea to allow Kotoko to catch up with the gang, and she starts begging for Komaru not to break it because then they'd lose all their friends. Oh, so the device is controlling the kids' brain rinsing as well as the Monokuma bots. Well, all the more reason to go ahead and just smash the thing, right? Nope. Do not listen to the game's logic. Don't listen to this flip-flopping bastard with her creepypasta-looking ass going, "Oh no, please leave my device alone." And then straight to, "Come to the dark side, Komaru," in a flash. And the beat goes on with Haiji making his obligatory appearance and meeting up with his half-sister for the first time since the destruction began. He doesn't bother putting up a front of his own as he tries to force Monaca to divulge her real plan and asking for Komaru to break the fucking thing already. Every refusal Komaru gives fuels the desperate atmosphere more and more, and the rebels chime in on the action by chanting for her to chuck the device onto the hard marble floor. Kotoko somehow manages to cut through the noise by informing the group of the true reason why the device can't be destroyed. It's not just controlling the kids and them robot bears, it's linking the power source between them, and if that gets broken off with their heads. But that only makes Haiji and the rebels more restless and unhinged. And now should be a good time to mention, in case y'all weren't under the impression that Haiji's as big an asshole as everyone else is, you know when Monaca gave Nagisa them kisses, and also said that she would do more if he fully submitted to her? Well, tie that behavior to Haiji's pedophilic proclamations, and many a question about her personality will be answered. And did you also know that this guy was originally planned to be Komaru's sidekick and not Toko? He was still going to have his iconic broken arm, but instead be some kind of assassin who hid his piece in his cast. Well, I think the devs went with the right call to go this direction for him. He did make for a very interesting character, but... God... No limits? Now, I have been critical of the story up to this point, and I can see folks criticizing this direction that the story takes, reducing the allies to incorrigible fuckwits and attempting to redeem the folks who started the atrocities that led us all here to begin with. No one is likable, so why should I care what happens? But I believe UDG does a great job of inducing panic and fear during this whole sequence, and it's just as stressful on a second run-through. The dilemma presented here for Komaru, whether or not she should listen to her foes or the very people she inspired to fight back, all while the doubts continue to pile up around her, and Banana Hair Girl is agitating her so much that you just wish that she brought the controller down on her developing skull. It's an all-out psychological assault that brings back in that suspense and horror in full force. I was legitimately sweating typing this out, and I'm sweating recording this, but that's for other reasons. And we ain't done! Toko's relegated to a bystander for much of the situations, but she's able to sniff out more details about Monaka's true plan. If Future Foundation were to bring out some hefty backup only to discover hundreds, maybe thousands of headless kids and a potentially equal number of bloodthirsty, childless adults who still have theirs attached, what's the most likely outcome? Beach party, that's exactly what I was thinking. Fuck them kids. Monaca is doggedly determined to bring back the despair her big sis left behind, and the only way that's gonna happen is through another grand scale war with the true despair successor at the helm. And if you've been thinking that it's gonna be her, you would be correct. Spiritually.
She can stand?
She stood. Monaca stood up?
Juko Jr. actually wants our lovable Komaru to take that role and lead the battle against Future Foundation. Imagine, the hope of Towa City, maybe the new hope of the whole world, the one who'd be responsible for all those kids' death and more, facing off against the one who initially destroyed the warrior's hope, her brother, her blood. What a legacy, what a tragedy, what a hope, what a despair. There's just a tiny problem with that plan, as it assumes Komaru has any reason whatsoever to do that shit. So Monaca has to give her one, and oh wow, does she give her one.
Komaru. Lies. It's just a lie. Those bodies.
Well, if Monaca can't have her happy family, then no one can. Faced with the prospect of the very thing keeping her going through all this hell, all this chaos, all this abuse being taken away from her in an instant, Komaru prepares to fulfill her destiny. But there is someone who can still save her. Toko Fukawa is my favorite character in the franchise. Every criticism I've had about Ultra Despair Girls' story, really every criticism I've had, disregard them. Doesn't matter. Fucking forget it. Because we have Toko. I know folks who swear up and down about V3 might crucify me for saying that, nor is this that uncommon a take. But I've also had this thought in the back of my mind, and this UDG deep dive pretty much confirmed it. Out of every character in this godforsaken franchise, Toko is my favorite of the bunch, and probably one of my favorite all-time game characters. I don't know why I had such a stick up my ass about her. God damn it, I really need to give one a proper replay. I blame it on my expectations with one being so high after knowing about the game from osmosis over the previous 6 years before I went into it. So I did what any stan would do and went back to Toko's profile for Danganronpa to refresh myself on her free time dialogue, and while I didn't find anything extremely revelatory, her nasty disposition has always done a terrible job at masking the strong sense of longing and loneliness exuding from her, and UDG expands upon that in some very interesting ways. In fact, I think Toko needed Komaru more than Komaru needed Toko. Some of those novel pickups do a lot of the heavy lifting, as one of them leads to a conversation about how Toko became afraid of the dark, being locked up somewhere for 3 whole days with no food, water, any sustenance. She doesn't get a chance to say who did this because... and fair enough, but based on her stories from one and a later story about being tied up with a rubber hose by her classmates as punishment, that was a bit more positive than the others, one could assume that it's just another instance of her classmates relentlessly bullying the poor girl. Later on, though, we find a novel that attempts to do a profile on Genocide Jack during their serial killing days, and this triggers a discussion about Toko's general upbringing. She was born at the exact same time that another newborn had perished in the same hospital, and those dumbasses somehow weren't able to determine whose child was whose. Not that the mothers cared, because they refused to submit themselves for a blood test as, in Toko's words, they wanted their kid to be dead. Inexplicably, they didn't give her up for adoption, rather choosing to raise Toko together alongside with the father, because that's the exact kind of family environment that definitely won't result in a serial killer. And yes, the 2 newborns had the same father. Great. There aren't many more details beyond that, but you can connect the dots from there, and a keen eye may have seen this coming based on the way that she interacted with the Warriors of Hope. She did have a few passions in life to distract her from her mistreatment, namely her books and her writing and her pet stink bug, Kameko. And her writing philosophy naturally grew into that old adage where only through misery can true art be crafted and thrived in. If you're in any creative field, you've probably heard something like that, and I am of the opinion that all of the suffering one feels they have to go through for their art is never worth it. Mr. Kudaka seems to agree, as the success Toko attained through her talents could only help her mental well-being so much. Meanwhile, her new best friend was, up until the tragedy, living a normal, boring, happy existence, being lucky or even privileged enough to have a loving family to be in her thoughts during the whole run of the game. There is definitely a hint a lot of jealousy embedded in the Warrior's attitude towards her because of this, and this is probably one of the many reasons why Toko is so casually mean to Komaru. Again, her only friend in life, or friend sect as she put it, was a stink bug. A stink bug that Ultimate Despair kidnapped to use against her as motivation during the killing game, and a stink bug she burst into tears over when she learned it's still alive somewhere in Towa City. I love her. I love her so much. Toko's circumstances very much align with the Warriors of Hope. Hell, she's practically a mirror to them. A kid who was abused and traumatized by their peers and the adults who were supposed to care for them, resulting in their transformation into a cruel, murderous psychopath. The difference is the kids may have been their own support group, but they supported each other through murder, and Toko could have continued down that kind of path had she been influenced by someone like Junko, yet she managed to make acquaintances that helped guide her away from those instincts and eventually made a true friend who helped battle her inner demons so that she could finally accept herself as she is, flaws and all. And now it's time for her to return that favor as we finally take control of Toko. Not Jack, nor Jill, Toko. Alright, 3rd and 10, ball snapped, Maru dropping back, can't find a man, here comes the blitz. Oh, God, it gets loose! The ball got loose and recovered by Toko. What a takeaway, what an excellent gesture, but there's a flag on the play, and the fans are not pleased. We go to the refs, and they have the key to Mr. Togame's cell room, wherever that prick is. They're asking for a trade. How manipulative can these refs get? Let's see if Toko takes the bait. And it appears she wants both the key and Komaru. I don't know if that thruple sounds appealing to anyone else, but the refs are confused and the fans are unruly. They're jumping the fences and slugging away at the team. It looks like they're gonna be taking the ball for themselves, but oh, here comes another ref. They're holding them back. I cannot believe what I'm seeing, people. This is unprecedented. Oh my God, the fan is out of the field. The game is over. The refs are crushed. You can't get any better than this.
That hurts. What? You hit me! My hand hurts. But that's not the only thing that hurts. This is the first time I've ever slapped someone in the face. See what you've made me do? Now come on, hit me back. Why? Isn't it obvious? It makes us even. I've never had a friend, so I don't know what to do in situations like this. So just, for now, if you hit me, we're square, right? So, hit me. Fine. That was pretty strong. Jeez. You're right. You're right. My hand hurts. That's not the only thing that hurts. Yeah. We're the same. If you can't do something on your own, all I have to do is help you. If I can't do something on my own, all you have to do is help me. Helping each other. That's the advantage of working together, right? Yeah. And just so you know, I won't comfort you or pity you. I'm not good at that stuff. And we still don't know if those were really your parents. We can't be distracted by the stuff that doesn't make sense. Focus on what's happening now. What do you want to do right now? Have you decided?
Yeah, I have. I want to protect both. I'm not gonna play her sick little game. I'm going to save the adults and the children.
Greedy girl. Can't say I don't approve.
I don't get choked up with games very often. This scene makes me choke up every time. Every fucking time. And now these two are ready to face off against the true final boss. God, hype moments in Aura, New World Order soundtracking this shit. I am so ready for this fight.
Kamaru, let's show them. You and I, the power of the Ultra
What the fuck? And yeah, this is easily the best boss fight in the entire game, and while that's not saying much considering what we have gone up against before, it is more interesting. Kind of plays out like you're fighting Metroid Prime, where you gotta switch to the right ammo type depending on the color of Big Bang Monakuma's eye here. The hit detection issues persist, but so long as you can get the hulking giant incapacitated for a second, you can let Genocide Jack go to town on it and be good from there. Something I did forget to mention during the gameplay spiel is the matter of death by Monokuma. If Kamaru gets down to her last heart and a Monokuma is about to engulf her, Toko can jump in to save her if you also nail a QuickTime event. And so the final blow to Big Bang Monokuma is a variation of that. I've too much pride to show the standard version. Gamers don't die. I also just happen to die during the few circumstances where this doesn't occur. Lucky me. With the power of Pride Month, gravity, and God on their side, the girls combine their weaponry to fire the Hope Bullet and wipe out the ultimate threat for good.
Hope lives on!
shock. Never trusted that shitbag for a second. The children's and adults' biggest weapons have now been completely destroyed, leaving their respective leaders utterly powerless, while everyone else takes turns shitting on the one who concocted the whole plan. You know, for all she's done and all she's been through, Monaca has never looked more pitiable than she has now. Seeing her short-sighted plan fail at the last moment, she might actually be disabled now. Kotoko takes her leave, Haiji fucks off to who cares, and the girls rescue Stuffy McPrickster before heading out of this godforsaken, worthless, shit-stained city.
I'm staying in this town.
Huh?
Well, a bit of sprucing up couldn't hurt. Komaru believes that leaving the city in the hands of Future Foundation would only cost something akin to the war that Monaca was attempting to cultivate, so she's going to stay in town to try to save everyone and prevent any more disasters while Makoto and the others handle the remnants of despair. What a shame. All that build-up between these two leading to such a tepid resolution, but hey, Toko's going to be spending the rest of her life with her beloved, so...
If you're going to stay, there's no way I can leave. I decided to be with you too, remember?
Toko...
Well, you know what they say, bad habits die hard. Boo. Thankfully, all of the original Killing Game hostages who weren't killed off themselves were rescued by Hiroko. There's a good chance Komaru's parents are still alive, and Byakuya agreed to go along with the plan since he'll be as far away from Toko as possible. Though he acknowledges Komaru's growth and the debt he now owes to the duo. Yes, humility from Byakuya Togami. Looks like he's done some growing of his own. Oh boy, I wonder how Future Foundation's war back home will turn out. Shit. As for Monaca, the servant managed to snatch her up right before the ship crashed and killed her for sure, seeing a kinship with her despair and fully intending to grow her into the next ultimate despair properly. Wanting a new hope to be born out of the ensuing Fuck you, man. I hope you go into a coma. Oh, and in the least surprising plot twist possible, it turns out that these two were Junko and Ashima the whole time.
It's me! Well, they're pretty much the same. White despair, black hope. In the end, neither one. But I guess that works too.
Their influence beyond the grave permeates in ways that we could never have imagined. I don't know who this guy is, crushing their brains and all, but I bet he's as culpable, so fuck all of them. Oh hey, the other warriors made it. Good for them, they deserve a happy life. Yeah, I should be meaner and call the writers cowards for not killing them off, but well, the series has done worse in that regard. And we end off with one last exchange between these platonic friends who continue to sleep together in the same bed, as they reflect on their journey so far, and the journey they're about to take ahead of them, with a gorgeous blue sky to reflect their new positive outlook on life. What a ride. The game even congratulates us, the player, by saying we were the third Ultimate Despair Girl. So there's one last piece of the Ultimate Despair Girls puzzle remaining that I'd like to go over. I've mentioned RE4 and Suda51 in comparing UDG to other media, and there are sources outside of video games I could point to as well. Lord of the Flies, The Pied Piper, Children of the Corn, Gremlins? But one game arose in my thoughts during both of my playthroughs that outshone all of the other influences, and I can't recall if it hit me in my initial run and then I just forgot about it, but well, tell me if this sounds familiar. A teenage girl wanders around a tight environment being consistently hassled by a society of children and being forced to play their dirty games to survive, with a sinister undercurrent enveloping them all. Who'd have thought that this game would have shown up on this channel again? And just pretend I didn't spoil it earlier. Rule of Rose, a relatively obscure survival horror game for the PS2 and one of the most interesting games of its era. Developed by Punchline, the same company who made another PS2 cult classic, Tulip, Rose of Rule takes its own approach to the teenage girl running away from scary kids thing, or in this case, scary orphans. You play as one of those orphans, Jennifer, who's all grown up and believes she has put that history behind her before a number of odd circumstances sends her back into her terrible orphan childhood, with the game drawing much of its horror from ye olde fairy tales, like OG Brothers Grimm's fairy tales. Ultra Despair Girls had a little bit of that peppered in, but in a more innocent manner, if you can believe that. Meanwhile, Rule of Rose ties these stories into the trauma that these orphans exhibit, and it makes for a very engrossing narrative. It's a cult classic for a reason. I admit it may not be the best comparison. Rule of Rose tends to be more subtle and metaphorical with these sensitive topics, and Ultra Despair Girls is loud and proud about how one of the kids was whored out by her yet somehow Rule of Rose was the one that made the European Union shit their pants. And if you want to take the comparison a step further, this means that Toko is the dog? Well, I'm sure she wouldn't mind being treated as one. Regardless, I would have left this all to supposition if Kodaka had not tweeted this a year after the game was out. Man, did I feel like an idiot when I discovered this. Of course he used this game as a reference. The kids are on a fucking airship, for Christ's sakes. And there are bits and pieces of Rule of Rose and other Danganronpa titles if you think hard enough. Now, the most obvious connection between the two is how they portray the effects of abuse and how it can radically shape an individual and the effects that it leaves on their psyche, as well as how easy it is to transfer that trauma and continue the cycle. Again, not the best comparison, as UDG likes to split up the terror with an abundance of humor and fourth wall breaking and throws the overall tone into a blender, which kind of makes the hyper-exaggerated showcase of child abuse a bit more difficult to swallow, but considering it as part of the horror in this horror game, it's easier to accept. You know, if that dog knew Kung Fu, maybe Jennifer wouldn't have had such a rough time. Like I said, UDG has much better gameplay. Furthermore, both games have a deep underlying theme involving family and jealousy. I won't spoil what goes on in Rule of Rose, but family is the string that ties every single plot point together. There was a time where Jennifer was on good terms with her found family, but something happened that changed their dynamics and relationships between each other, resulting in them becoming oh so cruel and jealous. You can see why Kodaka was inspired by Rule of Rose in that regard, and how those themes continue on in the epilogue. Komaru and Toko are no longer mere friends, they are like family. They make each other happy, they are their own support, and will continue to be their own support after everything that they've gone through. If that bond wasn't so strong, why did Toko choose to stay in Towa City with Komaru? Over on the villain's end here, Servant Man takes up a familial role for Monaca after she broke all of the bonds within her own family, blood-related or not. Even if you ignore future events, this relationship does not sound good for either of them, but if you know Servant Man's backstory, it's not hard to imagine he felt sympathy for Monaca. And the 4 remaining warriors seem like they're going to protect and support each other as they now try to live in a less hostile but still dangerous environment. I recognize the gambit with them portraying abuse and its effects in this manner, and a shallower analysis could yield that the game is saying one who has gone through that experience is more likely to become a deranged serial killer, and anyone not privy to the warriors, given what they've done, is likely not going to be convinced that they're sympathetic in any manner. But I admire the risks that were taken within the writing here, and those themes continue past the epilogue too. Getting into the post-game stuff, there's not a whole lot to do other than replay chapters with all the upgrades you have to get the collectibles that you may have missed and get better ranks. But you have to play each chapter individually if you don't want to go through the whole game again, so it's not quite a new game plus. And while the cutscenes are skippable, the overabundance of them means that start button is going to be getting a workout. Other than that, the only true extra is a side novel unlocked after completing the main game, titled Ultra Despair Hagakure. Nope. Not doing it. Not today. Not ever. Yasuhiro Kagakure, the son of Hiroko and another one of the survivors from the Killing Game. Coming out from 1, I found him to be the most annoying character in a game that had a lot of annoying characters, and I'm happy that the series did treat him as such if we do factor in future events. To my surprise, that's not quite the case here, as Ultra Despair Hagakure revolves around Yasuhiro being one of the many Future Foundation agents who arrived in Towa City during the breakout of Monokuma's, and how he survived the ordeal after teaming up with another one of the kidnappees, Kanon Nakajima, the cousin of Mr. 11037. And the one who has too much makeup on her face. Well, I don't know, she looks fine to me. The story works as an interesting parallel between our true protagonists and these weirdos. If Komaru was deeply in love with Makoto, and Toko was a blundering idiot. Before anyone starts, you can't blame Kodaka for this one. This was written by Yoichiro Koizumi, who continued to assist with Kodaka on the series ever since, including the upcoming 2x2 remake. Taboo as the subject matter may be, I enjoyed the novel more than I thought I would. Yasuhiro is still a dumbass, but he makes for a good counter to Kanon, who has interesting enough characteristics beyond the incestuous ones to make her distinct from Kumaru, and has quite a bit of poignancy attached to it, even though her arc is a bit too similar. Not quite up there with the best of the game's material, and you'll really need to know the events of one in order to get the most out of it, but I consider the novel a worthy addition to the Ultra Despair Girls experience. And that's it. That's the Ultra Despair Girls experience. A game with far more issues than the last game I did a 2-hour-plus video on, but a game I've come to appreciate about as much. Any flaws that may have popped up in the course of gameplay, characters, pacing, visuals, portrayal of child abuse, portrayal of this, can all be forgiven thanks to its core being so incredibly powerful. As a part of the Danganronpa franchise, UDG is an oddball one. It's a weird, over-the-top, distressing insight on the ongoings in its miserable, miserable world that was a chance for Kodaka and crew to experiment and flex their skill set, and by itself it's a clunky action game with a pretty good story and cast made with a lot of heart and whimsy, and there's nothing else like it. One of the many ideas I had in reevaluating UDG was seeing if it could stand up on its own, separate from the Danganronpa franchise. Like, if someone interested in it could start with this game and not feel like they're lost or missing anything. In fact, some of the reviewers made this their first Danganronpa game, and it looks like they had a pretty decent time. Kodaka even gave the idea a big ol' thumbs up. And so it pains me to say, no, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Now, this isn't me being elitist or anything. If you jumped into the series with Ultra Despair Girls, more power to you. It's just, the game, in my opinion, is not like a Justice for All or a Virtue's Last Reward or any of the Professor Layton games past Curious Village or fucking Trauma Team. The story resonates the most from its connections to the prior two games, and any newcomers would really be best off starting the series from the very beginning. I mean, you could also read the manga if you want, which is a fine enough adaptation, but really, you honestly may as well just be playing the game. It's just a more impactful experience. Overall, it sucks we didn't get any more weird spin-offs like this in the franchise. Kodaka and Sasaki hinted at the possibility of such, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. Then again, if they're making brand new scenarios for 10-plus-year-old games, anything's possible with this series. So, regardless of wherever it goes from here, Ultra Despair Girls is going to remain a personal favorite, and I hope I was able to make my love for it come across. One day, it could very well attain the reputation that Rule of Rose has. Anyway, my voice is shredded, so I'd like to close this video out by calmly reading some spooky excerpts from reviews of Ultra Despair Girls. Enjoy. I think it's safe to say that Ultra Despair Girls passes the Bechdel test with flying colors, and this is a good thing. It's difficult to become immersed in the gameplay when it feels like you're walking through IKEA after a fire sale. In the short space of 2 years, Danganronpa has become one of the Vita's leading exclusives. So true, bestie. Going back to the Resident Evil comparison, the actual act of shooting your enemies is reminiscent of Capcom's shambling property too. The fact that Ultra Despair Girls uses its first chapter to behave like a Resident Evil fanfiction almost had me give up on the game there and then. Remember, this was before Resident Evil 7 had come out, but this review later ends with, Ultra Despair Girls is our interactive take on The Exorcist or The Shining. It's the thinking person's horror experience. I'm going to let you in on a secret. I've never really wanted kids. Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club. Works for me. Happy Halloween!